Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is an impressive looking group of people in the room today. Yes. And it's such a gorgeous day. I'm totally distracted by the view outside the window here and the sunshine down on those beautiful trees. Thank you again for coming to the event today. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann Shaw, and I want to welcome you to a new mission, Military Women as Entrepreneurs. Now, our president could not be here today, President Heatherly. So it's my profound honor and privilege to bring you an official welcome on his behalf. At Coastal Carolina Community College, you might guess that a significant number of the students we serve have some affiliation with the military. And I'm sure you know, our military installations are easily the largest contributor to our economy in Jacksonville and Onslow County. So it is not insignificant that when this event was first being imagined, that it was a no-brainer decision that the inaugural event should be held in the community that hosts our unparalleled fighting forces and is the proud home to Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune and Marine Corps Air Station New River. Coastal Carolina Community College and our Small Business Center, together with our presenting partners, is especially pleased to be a part of today's event. And we are all excited to be with you today as you venture forward to learn more about entrepreneurship. In this new mission, you'll be able to use all of the best of your military skills to start your own business, create your own job, and be a part of the American dream. And we thank you for being here today. At this time, April Priester with Coastal Carolina Community College Small Business Center will come up and share some information with you about our presenting organizations and sponsors.
Thank you so much, Ann. It's truly a pleasure to be here today and to have the opportunity to shine the spotlight on some key organizations that have helped plan and launch this event. I'd like to ask representatives from each of these organizations to please stand and be acknowledged. The presenting organizations are the Women's Business Center of North Carolina, the Rural Center, the North Carolina Military Business Center, Onslow County Government, and the best chamber of commerce in the land, the Jacksonville-Onslow Chamber of Commerce. And then, of course, the Small Business Center at Coastal Carolina Community College and Coastal Carolina Community College. The leaders and staff members of each of these organizations today have played a significant role in pulling together today's events. So thank you, everyone. Thanks. Also at this time, I'd like to thank our amazing sponsors for their generosity in supporting today's events. Their significant contributions have made it possible to offer today's events free of charge to you, our participants. And so thank you to our platinum sponsor, SAS. Thank you to our gold sponsors, Carolina Small Business Development Fund and Lachey Cavers, independent associate with Legal Shield. And thank you to our bronze sponsor, Marine Federal Credit Union. And finally, we would like to acknowledge the small business resource providers we have with us today and ask that you use your networking time during today's event to visit their booth and learn how they can help you with your dream. Resource providers, we ask that you please stand so that everyone can see who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
And I guess I can't talk and click at the same time. And those are our hosts for a new mission, the presenting sponsors, and SAS, and our gold sponsors, and and our bronze sponsor, Marine Federal Credit Union. Let me go back to, I can't do that. I can do this. Well, I can't do it. And then we talked about the resource providers as well. So those are the lists there. Okay. Thank you. I think my technology guy in the back room's helping me out there. All right. Thank you so much. So good morning again. As I'm sure you will agree, women anchor our military just as they anchor our society in other areas. This event is for all military women. The female veterans who have served our country with honor, the women currently serving in the military on active duty, the military women's spouses who stand on the front lines here at home. You play all kinds of roles. You are wives and mothers, your granddaughters and daughters, chauffeurs and chefs and soccer moms. You are tutors, domestic engineers, and you are also veterans, Marines, and soldiers and sailors, officers, leaders, and warriors. Ladies, for all the roles you play on the military front and on the home front, we honor you today. The rest of our agenda will help you to play another role. Not that any of you need any more hats to wear, but today's program will help you prepare to be an entrepreneur. If you are already an entrepreneur, it will give you words and inspiration to grow with, tools to use, resources to leverage, and stories from the front lines of entrepreneurship. It is our hope and plan that you will leave here today informed and inspired to move forward with your dream of business ownership. So to start you on the path to your dream, I want to bring up our panel moderator to kick off and lead the next part of our program. Browse Johnson is the executive director of the Women's Business Center of North Carolina, and she is also the creator of the original idea for this event. More than 5 years ago, in 2012, Browse approached me with the desire to do an entrepreneurship event that would especially focus on military women. Now, guys, we're glad to have you in the room today, okay? And women, if you're not affiliated with the military, that's okay too. All of this is relevant. But we especially, Browse in particular, especially wanted to do this program that would focus on military women. With her leadership, we created this event especially for you. And since our inaugural event at Camp Lejeune in 2013, this event has ignited the entrepreneurial fire in more than 800 participants statewide. Browse, please come up and introduce our panelists and get us started with stories from the front lines.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Ann, so much. I'll have to say that this event would not be possible without Ann Shaw, the leadership that she has and has brought to this from the very beginning. It started as an idea, and trust me, we had several meetings together with other partners, such as the Rural Center and many more, the Chamber and whatnot, to make this happen. So this has been years in the making, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ann. So hello, and I am very honored to be with you today. This is a really special part of the program, and what we have seen in the past is that this is really the most fun part of the program, too. Don't tell our keynote, she's not here yet, but no, just kidding. But because what happens with this panel is that you really get to see and hear from women who have started and grown their businesses and their journey through that. So that's what makes it very compelling and important part of the panel. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is introduce our panelists, and if you all will just come up once I call your names, we'll just come in through this way. Okay, so we have Lachey Cavers, Independent Associate, Legal Shield. We have Lakeisha Cole, owner, She Swank 2. Cindy Edwards, founding president of 17 Blue Digital Agency. Shirley Morrison, owner of Century 21 and Advantage Gold Realty. And Paul Ann Page, owner of Heritage Construction Services. Welcome, ladies. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here today. We're excited to have you on our panel. Do y'all feel ready? You ready to go? All right, good deal. So how about we start this panel? We'll start with you, Lachey. If you want to just pick up the mic and give us just a few minutes and introduce yourself and tell us just a snapshot about your business.
Okay. Good morning. First, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to come here and hang out with you fabulous people out there. My name is Lachey Cavers. I am a retired Marine. I served 20 years in the Marine Corps, and I just recently retired last year, and I'm loving it. And my business is not the traditional business. It's more of a franchise. I'm an independent contractor with Legal Shield. Absolutely love it. We offer awesome services to home-based businesses, business owners, and families and employees because no one wants to be out there worrying about if they're going to get sued or if they need contracts reviewed or what have you. So I am the answer to that problem.
Good morning. My name is Lakeisha Cole, and I am the owner of She Swank 2. We are a curated boutique for girls located in the 715 block of Gum Branch Road. I'm also a new author of Mommy Retelling, and I am the mom of 11-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I've been a military spouse for about 15 years. We relocated back to Jacksonville from Okinawa, Japan, July of last year.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Edwards, and as you probably heard already, I'm the founding president of a digital marketing agency here in Jacksonville. It's been a privilege. I'm a military spouse, and it's been a privilege to grow a business. I've been here locally for about 17 years and love every day because no two are alike.
Awesome. Good morning. My name is Shirley Morrison, and I'm actually a local and married a Marine 30 years ago. That's right. So I was with him through all of his trials and tribulations of being a Marine, and I opened my own business when I was 23 years old. So it's been a long journey, a fun journey, and I'm excited to share with you everything I've learned, or not.
Hi, I'm Pauline Page, and not to confuse you, I'm also supporting the North Carolina Military Business Center. I'm the owner of Heritage Construction Services, former military spouse, and civil service employee for many, many, many years. I provide support services and contracting support to federal contractors and other agencies, such as the North Carolina Military Business Center. I do business support services for those folks as well. So be sure and come by and see us over at the NCMBC table and let us see how we can help support you today.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies. What a panel we have. Very exciting. So for the next about 30, 40 minutes, we're going to ask some questions, and y'all just pass the mic, and whoever wants to answer, just jump in and feel free to share your stories. So we're going to start with a pretty simple question. And so why did you start your business, and what was the business opportunity that you saw that made you compelled to get into entrepreneurship and business ownership?
Well, Legal Shield found me 14 years ago when I was still active duty. I was on recruiting duty, enlisting awesome servicemen and women into the Marine Corps. And when I saw the membership, it just made sense to me. It was something that I wanted, and I felt that everybody else needed. And so I was introduced to the opportunity, and it was right up my alley. You know, I'm always busy, so I really wouldn't have had time to do a traditional open up shop and have product. So having a service and marketing a service was very easy for me, and low investment and very low overhead. So that's basically how I got started.
Great.
Well, I got started part out of passion, part out of necessity. When we PCS from the East Coast to the West Coast back in 2008, somewhere around there. It's my first time on the West Coast, too. I, like myself, like many other people in the audience, I couldn't find a job when I got to California. Higher education, I thought I was highly qualified. Who wouldn't want to hire me, right? That's what we think when we're applying for jobs. And I just could not find a job. So I decided to create one for myself. Started my job part-time. I did find a series of jobs when I was in California, but I didn't convert from an employee to an employer until we PCS to Okinawa in 2013. And that's when I decided to pursue this full-time, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Mine started as a passion, I would have to say. I had a job. I was actually teaching for Onslow County Schools, taught for about 10 years. And this became the side nights, weekends, summers, vacations thing that eventually took over my whole house. And I got to a point where I had to choose between the passion that I found in helping people and solving problems every day and 25 to 28 children. It wasn't too hard. It was a leap of faith, but it wasn't too hard. I was ready. But it for me came just as a byproduct of the skill set that I had. I'm a creative and rather aggressive problem solver. So I like helping people and I like solving problems. And most businesses I've ever met, marketing is a problem that they end up needing help with. So it was a great way for me to use the creative skills that I have and the problem solving that I love to tackle stuff and help people. And that was more fun than anything else I was doing at the time.
Well, for me, I was one of those kids who went to college because you were supposed to go to college, and one of those kids who really didn't know what they wanted to do, but you were kind of pushed into, you got to do that. So I did, and I have a Bachelor of Science degree in dental hygiene from Chapel Hill. But like Cindy, I decided I didn't want to stay in a room with no windows and not meet people because I'm a people person. It just didn't, after I went to college, didn't excite me. I didn't have a passion for it, never practiced it, and decided that I wanted to go into a field where I could truly help people and make a great living. So let's face it, we're all in business because we do want to make a profit, but at the same time, I wanted it to be a very rewarding career, and I found my passion. And so since then, and that's exactly what I did, I've been doing it actually going on 30 years. Next year will be my 30-year anniversary. And I'll explain more as she asks more questions, but that's how I got into it.
I was actually born into my industry. My family had a construction company growing up, and of course, when the time came to go off to college, and I wanted to go to school to be an engineer, my father said, "No daughter of mine is going to run a construction company." So I was sent to school to be a teacher, an honorable woman's profession. You see how that worked out, don't you? I actually went to work for the federal government and civil service, and I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers as well as Naval Facility Engineering Command here at Marine Corps Base, and I've worked at Fort Bragg and some other areas, and I accidentally fell into what I'm doing now. While I was on civil service, I was standing in an airport in St. Louis, Missouri, waiting to be deployed with the Army Corps of Engineers to Iraq. And I originally had a 6-month assignment, and while I was standing in the airport, I was handed a new set of orders that said indefinite. And knowing that my husband could potentially be deployed at that point in time, I resigned my job of almost 15 years and went home. 2 weeks later, all the companies and businesses that I'd worked for, when they found I had left the department, started calling and asking. So I started actually consulting for different businesses. And for a number of years, Scott Dorney encouraged the North Carolina Military Business Center. I was probably one of their biggest cheerleaders. He asked me to come on board several times, and I finally did, and it's been a great adventure with the North Carolina Military Business Center. They do great work. But providing construction services and support for contractors, it's one of the greatest things because you get to actually see people succeed in things that they just need a little help with. This year, we're actually transitioning into a full-service GC. So I will actually be doing some of the things that I encourage and mentor people to do every day. So the timing is right for me. My nest is a little bit empty, and that's what we're going to do. But don't be fearful. I always tell people, if you give me a rope, I'll jump off of anything. And sometimes you have to think, what are you going to land in? But I see women out there that you or me, and you can do it. I believe you can do it.
Great, thank you so much. So the next question we're going to transition into is, how is your experience in the military and yours as spouses of active duty, for example, being in Japan not too long ago and other places, how have these experiences helped shape your business?
Go ahead. I'll start. We were never based anywhere extremely exotic other than Hawaii and North Carolina and South Carolina and Missouri. But
I'd take Hawaii.
I know, it was wonderful. But one of the unique things about military, my business is focused on federal and military services. So for me, wherever there is a military base, I have opportunities. Working as civil service, people would ask, well, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a government employee. Wherever we were stationed, wherever I could transfer to get a job at that point in time is what my career was. So to get started as a military spouse is always very challenging when you don't have your home base established. But the resources, I think, that are provided to the military, and they're good to gravitate toward resources. So utilize that to your best potential. I know that it has provided me a lot of support and growth opportunities.
Well, for me, I told my husband this morning. I said, as a military spouse, what I learned very quickly and what I took into my business is, for example, our first home. We owned the first home that we bought. It was so exciting for 7 years. And of those 7 years, my husband spent maybe 3 years in that home. So he was gone a lot. I was a single mom, pretty much. And what I learned is truly to find my inner strength, that I can do whatever I set my mind to if I just focus. And I took that into my business, and I would share that with every single one of you. If you truly believe and dig deep and have that strength, you can do anything you set your mind to. And that's really what I took from being a military spouse for so long, to believe in myself.
Well said, Miss Shirley. As a military spouse, former military spouse, he got promoted to civilian a long time ago. I'm third generation. My grandfather served in the Navy in World War II. My father served in the Army in Vietnam. My cousin went airboy. And I married a Marine, so we've got a whole collection of military in our family. But what it taught me, and what each one of those individuals taught me, whether it was my grandfather, my father, or my husband, and our time together, has been that faith and resilience are required. For us, it's been a faith journey. We have faith in our destiny, faith in our marriage, faith in God. We work together on a lot of things, but we also have to be resilient. Whether he was home or he was gone, things had to be done. And you just dig deep and you support each other and you find a way and you create a path where there wasn't one if necessary. And that's true in business as well. I think one of the biggest things I can say for my success in business thus far, and the success that I, continue aiming for as we move forward into other ventures and new things, is that, I know for me, prayer is a part of my life and it's a part of everything I do. So my faith has been integral to that. But also having someone on my team, my husband in particular, we had each other's backs no matter where he was in the world or in the country. And we got through a lot together. And knowing that we did that together and we made these decisions together and we stuck together, we had each other's backs. That's a huge thing. So whether it's a friend, a spouse, a cheerleader, a mentor, find that person for you who believes what you believe, believes you can, and will stick it out with you and has your back, because you're going to need to know who that person is and keep them close. Define your inner circle. Not everybody will believe what you believe or cheer you on. Some people will get mad at you, look at you cockeyed, and call you crazy, and that's okay. Let them. But find the person or two that you can really share your dreams with and your visions with, and they'll back you in those things, and they will say, I believe in you, babe, or I believe in you, hon, or I believe in you, friend, or I got your back, sister. And that's important, and it's critical, I think, for success.
I think the biggest effect the military life has had on my business is it taught me to be more resilient, have really, really thick skin, because you'll be told no a lot. When we moved to Okinawa, what I was not prepared for was to have to completely shut down my business for 6 months due to the international business laws that apply, that you have to abide by when you're living in another country, even though you're on a U.S. installation. So having to navigate that, learn how to navigate that, learn how to import merchandise legally, because there's a process for that, and just learning how to function. We had to close for 6 months. We lost 90% of our customer base. I literally had to start all over when we got to Okinawa. Luckily, I wiggled my way into a short-term contract with the exchange in Okinawa, and we were able to operate our store there for 3 years until we left. So that was our saving grace. If that would not have happened, I probably would not be sitting here. I probably will be rebuilding now. But the transition back to the States was much easier than anticipated. Like Pauline said, there are a lot of resources that are available to us. Unfortunately, when you're OCONUS, a lot of those resources do not apply. So you really have to get creative and build those relationships where you can, and just keep pushing forward. People ask, how do you do it? You just keep swimming. You just keep swimming, and it eventually happens.
That's very good. Well, for me, I had no idea 21 years ago, while standing on those yellow footprints with the drill instructor in my ear, going, what did I just do and why am I doing this, that I was going to have the growth that I have today with this business. I've learned so much from being a Marine that has just helped me tremendously with what I'm doing right now, starting with leadership, teamwork. Teamwork is a must. Mentorship, you know, like you said, having tough skin, being around like-minded people. You know, I still have my mentors that I had in the Marine Corps when I was a PFC. You know, they were always encouraging me to be better, get better, and do better. And I still have those mentors today. I still can reach out to them and ask them questions and say, hey, this is what happened today, what would you do? And these were people who were encouraging me to do better, even as a Marine, and who are excited about what I'm doing right now. And then learning to take care of people. I've taken care of many, many, many Marines. I'm starting with 2 Marines to over 250 Marines, making sure that they're on the bus and making sure they got all the gear and making sure that we're in training and we're filling and we're doing everything we're supposed to do. That, too, has helped me with what I do today because I have a sales team. So mentoring them and encouraging them to do well is what I've learned from being a Marine, and I'm going to carry it for life.
Great. We've heard some, thank you so much. Those are great, by the way. We've heard some keywords, mentor. Cindy, you talked about having people in your life to really help you through. And Pauline, we know you're with the Military Business Center and talk about, know about the actual resources on the ground. So tell us a little bit how the business resources in the area have supported you in your business.
I love, let me tell you, the resources here, the Small Business Center, the Chamber of Commerce, go to them and ask them anything and everything, and they will be there to help you. I love them. They know I love them. They see me all the time. I'm heavily involved in the Chamber of Commerce with my business. I am on a small business committee, minority enterprise development committee, events committee, ambassadors committee, any committee that they have. I'm on it, and it has not only given me exposure, but it has given me growth and professional development, which I'll dive into later, but and exposure to awesome other like-minded people. And if you have any questions, the Small Business Center, you can go and meet with them and they can help you with your business plan. If you don't know where to start, the Small Business Center will help you get started. They will tell you how to get started. They have all these awesome seminars, and majority of them are free. Everybody likes free, right? You go to Small Business Center, they have the pamphlet that comes out. It comes to your mailbox. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal people and resources right here in your backyard. So I highly encourage you to go to the Small Business Center and to the Chamber of Commerce and find out how they can help you start your business, because you will be very happy that you did.
I'll echo what she said. I'm still fairly new again to the community. Haven't been here for about 5 months now. But the Small Business Center has been very helpful. They do a roundtable in the evening. It's bi-weekly, where you can go and meet your peers and discussion, kind of flesh out some of your business ideas. So highly recommend it.
Ditto. Our company started, I don't remember, Ann, how long ago was it I walked in the door of the Small Business Center? 100 million years? We don't have to tell our age. Okay, 100 million years ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I found the Small Business Center and joined the chamber and have been very active in both. I just can echo wholeheartedly. Business is about relationships. Resources are a part of it, but you also need relationships. And through the Small Business Center and the military support and veteran support and spousal support that these programs and agencies offer, and the local business networking that happens through the Chamber of Commerce, if you try, no man is an island, no sheep is safe alone. I mean, how many ways can you say it? You're just never going to achieve by yourself what you can achieve with the support and expertise and wisdom of others. It's better to hear what someone else did wrong and skip it, for example, than step in the same pile.
And Cindy, I don't want to forget too that we did a really nice collaboration with the SBTDC with your business, and I know that we're not thinking about every single entity that we've interacted with, but I think that was one that was very successful for your business. So just want to mention that.
And I have to echo the same. The Chamber of Commerce guys, networking, these relationships, that is absolutely a must. Your local businesses, really almost every single business that I'm aware of is a member of that. And so to be able to really network, go to the functions, make sure they've got your email, you're on the list. It really has made a difference in my career. It really has. To be around, I always say this, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You get up and go find another room. Because you will always learn no matter what. No, you will always be learning.
Right, our resources in this area in particular, we are so blessed to have them. You can't say enough about the commerce, and you can't say enough about the chamber, and you can't say enough about the small business centers or the SBTDCs. There's numerous, the Women's Business Center. There are so many opportunities that are afforded for you here. It's about investing. And sometimes when we talk about free is wonderful. It's a great place to take you into the next level. So you're investing your time at that point to fill the need that you need. The next step is some of the organizations for lower cost opportunities for training. But if you're not investing in you, no one's going to. So it may start with just free and time resources. But then you have the opportunity to look in other directions, because no one's going to do it for you. But these folks in these organizations, the North Carolina Military Business Center, if you're focused on federal contracting or military contracting, we provide support. We team with all the different agencies that are here, with the Small Business Administration, with the SBTDCs, with their component of the PTAC, which helps support you in your needs and efforts. Networking is so critically important. And Cindy said it best, if you're the smartest person in the room, get out of the room. Go and meet folks. They may not be a direct business link to you, but from them, and their business is business, okay? And then you also have opportunities. I don't know how many times I have people that came in my office that I've been in a networking event somewhere else, and I'm going, I know the exact person that would be beneficial for you. And pull that card out and send that email and make that introduction. So networking is important. Use the resources that are provided for you. Just all you have to do is look around and they're there.
Great, thank you. So we heard a couple of words here about investments into your business, and that'll be the follow-up question before this one. One of the biggest things that we see with business owners, and especially women in business, is professional development and putting that towards your learning and your knowledge on to be able to grow your business better. So how about you all touch upon how you have invested in your business for professional development? Anybody?
I will. Honestly, it's the same thing. Look for the opportunities. Recognize your own shortcomings. You know, you have to recognize where you're challenged in, and you have to face that. That's always the fear. We don't want to look at that. That's the area that I pursued, the areas that I struggled with, and those resources. Invested the time, took the opportunity, invested money to go and spend for specific training, because every business is different. But personal growth, even if it's just learning to speak in public or feel comfortable to go up to someone and introduce yourself, or how to even present your business, is critical. Because, you know, if people don't understand what you have to offer, you know, you're just standing in a room talking. And there's benefit in all of those. But find the place that you see is the weakest point, or have someone else point it out to you, because they'll do it. Okay? And go look for that resource, for that training opportunity, or that development, or that mentorship, or just someone to cheer you on, because sometimes that's what we need.
I don't know if I can say that any better. And the truth is, you know, life is learning. You know, I'm a believer in, I read tons of self-help books, but I also seek out, as she said it, I know my shortcomings. You have to admit that, and you have to say, how can I learn from this? How can I get better? And honestly, my entire life, going outside sometimes, even if it's, you know, to any of, in my profession, we are all different. So for me, it might be a presentation, how to give an effective presentation. It may be leadership. Now that my position has kind of changed gears, so I want to learn exactly what I need to do to be the best at what I do. And I do always learn, always try and better yourself and recognize your shortcomings.
I think you've heard the stay teachable, stay learning. I have a stack beside my bed of 7 to 8 books at a time, always. I have a Kindle. I read blogs. I read articles. I read a lot. When I'm not reading, I'm watching videos, and, you know, my husband's watching a movie, and I'm like, because I'm not watching the movie with him. I'm there, and I love him, and I'll hold his hand, but I'm reading an article or doing something else. So find the places to invest in yourself in your schedule. You have to make time for it. But it's, they say, you succeed or you learn, right? Failure is part of the process. No one would expect a kindergartner to drive a car successfully. So if you're starting a business, or you're starting a new market, or you're starting in a new niche, or you're starting a new expansion, or whatever the case may be, new turf is new turf. You've got to learn. Some of it you can spare yourself some pain by getting wise counsel and good advice, but you're still going to scrape your knee sometimes. And so you have to be that tough skin piece. You have to apply it to yourself as well. Sometimes we are really good about taking criticism from others and balancing it and saying, you know what, I'm not going to let you stop me. I'm going to keep moving forward. This is my dream. This is my passion. This is my goal. Sometimes we're our own worst critic. So you need to apply a little of that wisdom of having a tough skin to yourself and allow yourself some room to learn. But stay teachable and be open. You're gonna learn along the way, but seek out resources. And I also heard a very wise mentor of mine invested some knowledge in me early on, and they said, strengthen your strengths and hire your weaknesses. I can spend a lot of time trying to fix what I suck at. You know, if I'm no good at it, I'm just really no good at it, and I need to understand it so that I can measure it and track it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to be the one to do it. Because I can hire a professional and it will take them 30 minutes and it would take me 6 hours and still not be right. So part of knowing your weaknesses and your strengths is honing in what you're good at so that you can really drive that as far as possible. And the things that you just can't be a master of, that's okay. Learn, get the understanding, make sure you know when that CPA hands you the report what it means. You know, learn all the things you need to learn that maybe aren't in your wheelhouse. But then get professionals on board, get colleagues on board. If you don't have a large cash flow, barter some services and trade out some things, but get help on the things that you need so that you're not stuck grinding for 6 hours on something that a CPA or an attorney or someone else could do in 30 minutes. It'll just save you a lot of headache, for one thing.
Well said.
Ditto on the outsourcing, because there are things that you don't know how to do, and there are things you just don't want to do. So you can find someone else to help you do that. But I like to, what you said is, I'm always a student. My biggest investment was actually going back to school. My background is in journalism. I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore, that I wanted to open a retail shop with no retail experience. So I went back to school and got a degree in retail marketing. And at the time when I was in school, we were in Okinawa. Not to mention I had 2 babies while I was in Okinawa, but that's another discussion. It was at a time in my business where I was actually experiencing what I was learning at the same time. So it couldn't have been a better match for me. So again, always a student, always seek out those books, blogs, YouTube, if you're into videos, because they're great tutorials on YouTube, but constantly learning new things.
Professional development and personal development is huge for me. Your business is an investment. If you have to invest in your business, monetary, go out and spend what you have to spend to make sure that you're delivering a good product and a good service. And then you have to invest in yourself. I'm with Cindy with the Audible. I have Audible on my phone, and I have books in those Audibles right now. I'm listening to Mel Robbins' The 5-Second Rule. And, when I'm in the car, I'm listening to professional development books, making sure that I'm getting better at what I do. I'm so excited because our convention that's coming up, and our leadership convention that's coming up in September, we'll have John C. Maxwell as our guest speaker. So I'm excited about that because I am, I want to be on the VIP list, so I'm working hard to be on the VIP list so I can meet John C. Maxwell. But I believe that personal development and professional development encourages you to answer the criticism, the negative comments, or reply to an unsatisfied customer with the same enthusiasm that you would respond to a 5-star customer. You have to have tact, you have to give customer service, and how you do that is you work on yourself. You make sure you look your best, you make sure that you go out and, I like to shop, so you go out and you make sure that you put in your best self forward, because let me tell you something, people don't buy your products, they don't buy your services, they buy you. They buy you. And if you are rendering awesome services to them, they're going to always come back to you. And not only are they going to come back to you, but they're going to refer you to other people and have people come to you. Why? Just because you made them feel good. People don't remember what you say to them, but they remember how you make them feel. That's right. And if you make them feel good about what you're doing and what you're rendering to them and the services that you're giving to them, they're going to always come back to you, and they're going to always love you for it. And that's how I've been able to be so successful with my business, because that's my pride and joy. That's what I focus on, helping people. Because if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. That's my deal on professional development.
I like it. Thank you. Way to go. Nice. So quickly, just tell us quickly, what barriers did you face in starting or growing your business, and how did you address these barriers?
The barriers I faced were friends and family discouraging me.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Yep.
The people who you love the most, who you think love you the most, are the first to tell you you're going to fail. How do you handle that? Professional development.
You read.
Self-care, thick skin. Those were my barriers, and they sit back and they still watch and see if you're going to fail. First of all, I want to commend you on being here today in the morning, early, getting some professional development. That is what you're doing right now. That's what you're doing right now. And I want to encourage you, when you hear those negative things, when you hear those barriers coming, this is your dream. If you're spending time building somebody else's dream, why not put the same amount of time in building your own? Build your own dream. Go for it. Just go out there and do it. Because I promise you, you will be very happy when you do. And that was the hugest barrier. I was kind of like, I'm a tough Marine. I've made grown men cry. But the minute that, a family member said, "Oh, you're doing that? What are you thinking?" I was kind of like taken aback, because I was like, really? You're supposed to be encouraging me. You're supposed to be the person that, was like, go do it. But sometimes you're not going to always get that. So I want to encourage you to go do it anyway.
I think my biggest barrier is having to pack up my life every 2 to 4 years and move and reinvent myself, restart my career, my job, whatever it is that you're working on. That has hands down been the biggest barrier. And the advice I can give you is you keep swimming. You know, you get to a new location, we don't know what we're walking into. We don't know what the real job market is like. We don't know what type of opportunities are there. But we have to reinvent ourselves every 2 to 4 years and figure out how to make it work. You know, so that's when building those relationships comes in handy, because you can always reach back to someone else and say, hey, you were stationed here before. Do you know anyone who's in the marketing field or in your industry? Those relationships are important, and I carry and collect my military spouse friendships and relationships at every single duty station that we've been stationed at. But yeah, hands down, biggest barrier.
You saw me reaching for the mic, right? I actually made a list. I was laughing. I said, I don't know that I faced any special barriers. Just the learning curve, cash flow variances, expensive growth, failed contracts, constant changes in regulatory legislation, a tax law, intellectual property rights management, shifts in marketing channels, staff training, staff turnover, the velocity of change in just the small stuff.
I have one. Fear. And I'll be honest with you, if you don't take that first step, you'll just be in the same place. And so you've got to overcome your fear and again, dig deep and say, if you don't overcome that barrier, you'll never, ever do it. So just do it. I say jump in all the way. You have to be all in and do it.
I fully agree. You have to, but how do you do that? You know, how do you work on your business when you're working in your business? How do you, you know, if you're blessed with someone else's income to help support the family while you're trying to make that transition, that is phenomenal. But sometimes we're not in that position. So how do you leave someone else's employment when you need that to be sustaining for you? A lot of you are mothers. How do you leave your children? You know, how do you do that? How do you work on your business when your first business is at hand, you know, of a morning and of an evening and the phone calls and Mom, I need money, or, you know, Mom for me was first. So I've been very blessed to be able to have a business that I'm passionate about. Follow the things that you love to do, because I've worked at a lot of jobs that I just really did not like. Love what you're doing, so on the days that you don't like it so well, you'll show back up the next day. So, you know, those are some of the biggest challenges, but I've been blessed with the opportunity that my area of expertise and support, I fit around my children's schedule. That works for you for a certain period, but there's not a lot of opportunity for growth when that happens. And that's why I said I've been consulting for a number of years. And now what I do, I have contracts with the federal government. I have contracts with the state. I have contracts with contractors. But it's around my schedule, which is actually my children's schedule. So I always have to check with them before I can start. But now with my nest empty or getting empty, I have an opportunity to take that next step. And I'm met already 3 people today to help me. I'm here to help mentor you in some areas. But there are people here that are going to mentor me through that next step. So never think that the person that's sitting next to you is not going to be the next aha moment. You know, we have to support each other. When we were talking about outsourcing, sometimes you have to, is my time worth that much? You know, you're talking about, it's so hard when you're working in your business to give that over to someone else. You know, those are the challenges that you get. And the people that tell you, just like my father, no daughter of mine is going to run a construction company. I was very offended about that for many years because I was on a job site from the time I was 11 years old. I do understand now that He was trying to protect me because it's hard, it's tough, you know, and he didn't want to see me work that hard. I said, well, if you didn't want to see me work that hard, I shouldn't have had 3 children because that's a lot more work. So I feel like I'm going to cruise into the next stages of that. But working on your business when you're in your business, or trying to start your business when you're someone else's employee, or you're dependent upon your military spouse's next orders or your own orders. You know, how do you see beyond? They talk about having a 5-year plan, a long-term plan. Well, your plan is dependent upon those PCS orders. And how do you prepare that? And sometimes, like when you get orders, you think, okay, well, I have 6 months, do some market research, start making connections. Sometimes it's not even 4 weeks. So it makes it difficult. But you guys have resources out here, and let us help you as we can. You know, don't be afraid. The biggest failures, the worst jobs, the worst contracts, even the worst job I have done, I have learned the most from. So do not be afraid to fail. And when people are discouraging you, especially if they're family, sometimes it's insecurity on their part, sometimes it's protection. They don't want to see you hurt, they don't want to see you fail. But if they can turn that energy around and encourage you, even if it's down the rabbit hole, even at the bottom of the rabbit hole, you're going to find a benefit that'll make you bigger, better, stronger, faster. Because there's nothing better than learning how not to do something. Networking, as you said, Cindy, that you don't have to step in that pile. It is great to have those opportunities to have folks say, well, I did that and this is what happened to me. I wish I had done X, Y, Z. So, you know, those are the things that are most challenging, I think.
Great, thank you. So speaking of some barriers and challenges that we see that small business owners face, and a lot of that is on the financial side, and that would be finding access to capital and investing in yourself and into your company. So Lachey and I were talking about that earlier, and so if you wouldn't mind, just reiterate what you were saying earlier about those things, then we can pass the mic down.
Investing in when you're doing business and you're looking to start a business, you want to make sure that it's the right business for you. And then you make a plan, make up a map, and figure out how you're going to do it, because it can become expensive. And you have to go to the Small Business Center and figure out, what your cost is going to be to start your business. And if it's something that you really want to do, don't be afraid to invest that into that business. Because, again, you'll be very happy that you did. Now, me, being an independent contractor, my startup cost wasn't as expensive as most startup costs can be. I think at the time it was a special and a military special, and I think I started my business for $49. But it has paid me very well. Paid me very well. So make the investment. I encourage you to figure it out, and figure out how you're going to do it, and just do it, because it's worth the time. It's worth, the fear. It's worth all of that. So again, I highly encourage you to do that. And again, through professional development, go out and get it.
Right. And I think, like you had said, just to make sure, if you don't invest in yourself, who else will? So, how do you get outside funders, things like that too?
Right. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you have people who want to invest in you, depending on what type of business you're doing. Find yourself a business partner. Find someone who has the same dream as you do, and basically go into it together. You'll just be amazed at the outcome that comes out of that, because it's great. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun having your own time and making your own hours, and then satisfying people and helping people.
Go for it.
So when I started my business, I went to the ATM. I took out $500 from my husband's checking account, who's sitting in the back of the room. I didn't tell him what I was doing. I drove myself to LA, to the garment district, and I taught myself how to be a buyer with the $500 that I had in my pocket. I went back to my apartment in Stewart Mesa Housing on Camp Pendleton. So if any of you have ever been there, you know why I'm shaking my head. And I went and built a website. The technology piece cost me about $100. I bought $400 worth of merchandise. I put merchandise up on the website and I sold it. My first customer was my mom, my second customer was my mom, and my third customer was my mom. But eventually, I sold enough products to turn profit to continue to go and buy more products. So we have been able to bootstrap our entire business for the past 7 years. We have not had to go to a bank and borrow money. Not say that we won't in the future, but we haven't had to do that just yet. Even relocating our business back here, we were able to use the money that we made in Okinawa to start our brick and mortar shop here too. So again, if you have an idea that you're passionate about, it's okay to invest your own money. You may not get an investor off the back like you see on Shark Tank or you see on some of these other stories. It's okay. It's okay to put your own money behind your idea. I like to say you start small with growth in mind. Start there. $500, and be surprised how far it will take you.
I'm sorry, Cindy. And in technology nowadays, you can do a lot of things at low cost. I mean, I pay for my company, I pay about $20 a month to run my business. I do everything from my phone. I can send videos, I can send flyers, I can send brochures from my phone. And it goes directly to my website. As you see on my booth, I probably won't have a lot of stuff over there because I can do it from my phone. Or for those, the traditionals who want something in their hand, because sometimes people just want things in their hand. I do have some things for that, but you could take advantage of the resources that are out there for you, and you may save on costs. Good for you on how you did that. That's awesome. More profit.
Thanks, honey.
When we started our company, we self-funded as well, and I think both of these ladies have said it's important that you invest in yourself. If you don't believe in your dream and your idea and your passion, nobody else will. It's also a great motivator. When I started my company, I pulled my retirement fund and put it right in and had a great motivation to make sure I succeeded. Yes. Later, when we were looking at expansion costs, and I had some wise counsel that said, if you think you need 20 grand, you better plan for 40. I'm like, okay. Let's see. I had to go back and look for some traditional funding when we needed to expand, and I was able to get it, but largely due to the fact that we had put the work in to make sure that we were stable and solid and growing and had a clientele and had, we'd shown a track record. It wasn't, we didn't start here and go, pew, we didn't shoot to the top of the, Forbes list or anything like that. It took a little time to develop, but because we had a positive trajectory and we had a growing clientele and we had put in our own money and we had done the work and we had done what we could to be as prepared with our personal finances as well. When you're a small business and you go to apply for funding, one of the things that they will look at is your personal finance. How much debt do you have, not just the company, but they look at all of those things. So be prepared as you can, but don't don't despise humble beginnings, right? Wherever you are, whatever you have access to, leverage that and put it in. And if it is your own money you're putting in, like I said, you'll be very motivated to succeed.
Well, there's been a little inflation since I started. Back in the day, I believe it cost about $350 to get a broker's license or salesman's license. Today, it costs a little more than that. You have to go to school. You have to pay to take your exam. But most of the time, people can do that. Where for me, purchasing the business and the franchise after I was a salesman, that's where I leveraged my local connections in the town and said, I'm going to go where I bank. I'm going to use my funds and hopefully these connections and these relationships so they'll lend me the money to help me continue. And it worked, guys. So really remember, I've been with Marine Fed, I think, for 30 years now, and other banks as well. Leverage your relationships that you have through the Chamber of Commerce for all resources, not just finances, but all your resources. And that truly, that helped us tremendously.
Some of the challenges everyone is facing, is sometimes startup costs or growth. There are a lot of opportunities for small business, especially being military connected, whether you were in the military yourself or a spouse of the military. Through the small business administrations, there are traditional and non-traditional lenders that can help support and grow your business. The biggest challenges are that you are the business to the lender, so they are going to look at your personal finances first. It takes a while before the business will stand on its own from the owner. Even if you're incorporated or an LLC, you're still, that baseline. But to identify the areas, you don't even know where your expenditures are sometimes in a small business. So there are resources that will help you, like they talked about going into the small business centers or even with the SBTDCs. It'll talk about how to focus. What is the market for the services or the products that you're going to sell in that area? That's critical. How are you going to address that? Marketing is expensive. Those are the steps that I'm actually starting to take because I'm notorious. I tell people I don't like to have business cards or anything with me because when you hand them out, people call you. And for me, I wanted to be able to manage my time at my startup around my family. And if you were to ask my children, they would say I worked all the time. Because when they saw me not cooking dinner and I was sitting down, I was either on the phone or I was, on the laptop doing something for someone else. But, now that I'm actually transitioning to a regular full-time GC rather than consulting, I've never marketed in my life. Never had to. Companies have always come to me. A lot of times I would turn them down. But the reason I stunted my own growth, whether it was by my actions or fear of financial resources until this past year. And, the opportunity came. Now I have growth. My lovely niece, who is sitting right here in the office, was a quality engineer and came to work for her aunt. Left her wonderful job with benefits to move to Wilmington to come to work with me. For someone to have that much faith in me, I can't fail. So now, my next growth is benefits for my employee. I'm getting ready, once my niece is taken care of, I already have the opportunity. I need more employees. But that's a challenge. That's a fear. How do I make sure that I have their needs taken care of, first? And how do you do that? But you can't grow. You can't grow unless you have help and resources. And financial resources, I hate to say it, guys, that's just part of the business. You need to educate yourself about that. A lot of times, as an individual, the first time that we really deal with financial management is the first time we go make a loan for a car or the first house. Business, it's much more complicated than that. So find the folks to help support you and educate you in those things, but know that they're out there, the Small Business Center, the SBA, because there are programs in particular that support military and military-connected programs that will help your small business. You are the backbone of this country, small business is. Even if that's one individual at home choosing to take $500 out of their checking account and become a buyer. That's the American dream. So know that I am a plain Jane, everyday kind of person. And I'm going to tell you, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Lashane, did you?
With your business, make sure that you keep it separate from your personal bank account.
Did everybody hear that? She said, make sure you keep it separate from your personal.
Start your business, or if you're already in business, go to the bank and start a business banking account. Because you want to keep your business money separate from your personal money. You want to also protect your Schedule C when you go in and you have your tax write-offs, and your CPA can talk to you about that, or anyone that's in the tax field can talk to you about that. But you want to make sure that you have those things separated, especially if you're home-based businesses, because sometimes, we forget, we don't have that traditional where people are on us and we got to do minutes and corporate and all that. So if you're doing home-based businesses, you want to make sure that you have a separate bank account. I have a separate bank account for my business, and I have a bank account for my personal. And if I'm going to be spending things and going out and, meals on a business, or have a client where I'm taking them to lunch, or if I'm going to training and I'm spending different things in that, I make sure that money comes out of the business money and I can separate that. And I'm a techie, so I have an app for everything. And there's this real cool app out there, it's called the Self-Employed app. And what it does is you can go to the App Store, it's Square, Green, Self-Employed, and if you link your business bank account to it, the debit card that you're using for that, then all you have to do is swipe left, swipe right. And it'll go, whatever you spent that day, it'll go right into, you can separate it, and at the end of the year, it will generate a Schedule C for you. So it'll make it easier for you and during tax time. Also, it tracks your mileage, because you get, tax break on mileage. So as it's connected to my GPS, so at the end of the day, when I have to recap, because you can get caught up in doing your business, but you also have to run your business. And you got to keep up with the books, and you got to keep up with the administrative part of it if you don't have someone hired doing that for you. So at the end of the day, I just go swipe right, that's the business deal, that's a business deal, that's a business deal, that's what I spent. Or the mileage at the end of the day. Okay, yes, that's the business, because it'll track all your mileage, so I have to swipe left or right from personal to business mileage. So if it's business mileage, like my drive here today is business mileage, so I'm going to be swiping towards business. So, and you can do that, because you want to keep those things separate, so when you go file your taxes for your personal and for your business, you have good records. Because the last thing you want to do is be audited by the IRS, and we help with that too, so please come see me. You don't want to take on a tax attorney by yourself.
Legal Shield. Okay, so we have just about 10 more minutes, and I do want to try to get in 2 more questions. So, and the next one I am going to combine 2, but so I'll just rock it. I know you can, okay? So first of all, looking back, what would you do differently, and what advice would you give other business owners?
Looking back, what would I do differently? It's a good question. You caught me off guard with that one. I'll probably come back to that one. But what I would encourage other business owners to do is just go do it. First get with a group. If you have to change your circle, you may have to change your circle to like-minded people that's doing the same things you're doing, whether it's, it doesn't even have to be the same business. It can just be that person that's business-minded. Get in that group, because that will change how you do everything when it comes to business. And then I just highly encourage you to continue to come to events like this. Continue to go out there and find out how to resource your business, start your business, do everything about it, and just go do it. I mean, and remember, I'm reading the 5-second rule, so what was in there, and hopefully I get this right. She was talking about the prefrontal cortex controls thoughts. And when you're thinking about doing something, it's literally 5 seconds between the thought and the action. So if you're thinking about going out to start your business, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just go do it. Because I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all day. So fear doesn't take over, and then now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, no, I shouldn't do it that way. Just go do it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a good book, Mel Robbins.
That's good advice.
What would you do differently? I probably wouldn't do anything differently.
I probably would have jumped sooner. I probably would have left the workforce much sooner. And what advice I have for you, I would say my biggest tip is to get involved in your community. I'm really big on fostering using my business to foster goodwill in the community. Get involved in your community while you're building your business. It's okay to share resources with others. It's okay to help others along your journey as well, because you're looking for others to help you too. So that would be my biggest advice, I think.
What would I do differently? Part of me says nothing, because I've learned so much from the journey, good, bad, and ugly. But if I were going to do something, I would probably say I would have paid better attention to the details of what I would call the boring parts of business sooner. That part really can make you fly or make you trip up, and I didn't pay attention to it early on like I needed to, because I was chasing my big ideas and big dreams, and it just pays to get the details right. So I would invest a little more time there. Advice I give entrepreneurs, young and old, is business. Owning a business on the business landscape is a constantly evolving thing, and owning a business is a constant change. Change is the only constant, right? It always changes. It moves. It evolves, and it's just a living, breathing thing. So being adaptable is a very, very valuable skill. So everything changes, except what doesn't. There are some things that will never change. So for yourself, find the things that are, this will never change for me. Your own personal lines you won't cross, things you'll never do, things you won't agree to, for whatever reasons, your own core value pieces. Find those things. And then make sure that they are not just in your head and in your heart, but that you write them down and you incorporate them into your business planning, into your community, your corporate culture, your business culture when you start building a team. And that's not necessarily just employees, that's also vendors and associates and partners and people and mentors. Make sure the things that won't change for you are part of your plan, because you're going to get challenged on those things. So everything changes, but know for you what won't, because that's, everybody's definition of success is a little different. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to have a good night's sleep knowing that you did your best and you didn't cross a line you're sorry you crossed.
I'm going to say, what would I change? Would be nothing. And that is because it has made me who I am today. I've learned from everything. I've had failures, I've had successes, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. And I guess what advice I would give you, everybody, I hope, has a vision and a dream. Don't let anybody tell you it's not possible, because it is possible. Make sure, again, believe in yourself, have the vision, have the dream, and then your plan, obviously you need to write a plan to make that happen, but you can do it. Believe in yourself.
I have to change what I thought I was going to say. I think the thing that I would change is I would have that little app that Lachey was talking about sooner, which really ties into what Cindy said as well. It's the details of the business, the mundane, the boring, the I'll get to it later. I need to do this. I'll get to it later. That's the biggest challenge, is especially if you're starting and you're a home-based business. Is always trying to find time to get to it, because guess what? There are no extra minutes in the day. There are none coming. So you have to make the most of what you can get out of it each day. And then don't second guess yourself for not getting something done. The one thing that I think was my biggest holdback is not jumping in, taking the leap of faith, growing, because I am limited. I can only do what I can do. If I want to take on more for my business, guess what? I have to have more help, right? Whether you outsource that, whether you hire employees, those are all things that you need to start making considerations for the first day you say, I want to have my own business. Because if the dream is to have a big, huge corporation, you're going to have all of those elements, but it always starts at the bottom on those simple things of what can I do? How much can I do? How much of my time can I give? And is it important? If I don't like something, those are the things I usually find somebody else to do for me. I mean, I just hate to say it. If it's not something that I enjoy doing, there are people out there that enjoy doing that thing. Find those people. That is, exactly. To be successful is not being able to do everything well because you can't. It's finding the people that do those things the best, much better than I do them, much smarter than I am. So that would be the one thing that I would change, is not reaching out and growing and taking that leap of feeling like I had to do it all on myself.
Excellent. So definitely work smarter, not harder, correct? I think we all know that one. So wow, some really great words that have come out from here. Community, for example, that's a very big one. Finding time, failure and success. I think the word dream came up quite a few times for sure. we heard 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to be able to, use that time effectively to really think through. So that's excellent advice, everybody. Thank you so much. So our final question before we go to Q&A is a question that I always enjoy our panelists sharing, and that would be, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self? Anybody can start.
Stay at home as long as you can. I'm just kidding. At your parents' house. Because this is the real world.
The real world.
And I'm all seriously, I think, for me at 18 years old, again, I didn't know what I wanted to do. When you're 18, I was one of those girls that played with Barbie dolls till I was 12. So at 18, if I would say anything, it would be enjoy what you do, love what you do. I can't imagine someone going to work every day and hating what they do. So that is one thing which I have been so fortunate my entire career, because you got to love it. You got to love what you do.
I just wish I was as smart now as I thought I was when I was 18. And I would probably say, educate myself, surround myself with the best people, and probably not be as complacent as I have been in some things that I've done. So I think that would be what I would tell people. Don't be afraid of things, because as long as somebody doesn't die, arms and legs don't fall off, and the sun comes up tomorrow, there's nothing that you can't get through. You're built that way. Women are built that way. Men, not so much. But that's why they have us, right?
That's right.
Their goal and their function is to do other things. Embrace the gift that you've been given as being a woman, okay? I work in a predominantly male industry. I can't hold up physically like my male counterparts can, working in an actual physical construction aspect or element. I have to use the gifts that I've been given, because we are not equal, we're complementary to each other. Okay, we're complementary, and women are more particular about things than men are in some aspects, and that makes us good at some things, but it makes us bad in others. So not to be a perfectionist, and to recognize what I can do and what I want to do might be two different things.
I would tell myself, don't play it safe. Don't settle. Be strong, be courageous, Joshua, and be all that you are created to be, because it's worth it.
I would tell myself to travel more, to kind of live on the edge a little bit. Our experience overseas was such a rich experience, cultural experience, not only for our family, but for our business too. So I would definitely travel more, experience more. So yeah.
I would tell myself to always follow your gut instinct. Because that's what I did when I retired from the Marine Corps and decided to do this business full time. While I was still active duty in transition, I was offered a job. And it was a really good job. It was doing the exact same thing I was doing as an active duty Marine at that time. I was a quality assurance evaluator. I was the one that went and did the food inspections at the dining facilities. So you either loved me or you hated me, but you had good food on the line. So when it came down to that, they were asking me, if I would like to continue to do that job, and it was going to be in California. I mean, who doesn't want to go to California, right? And it was offering good benefits and offering good things. And when they were telling me about these things, I knew that I was supposed to be doing Legal Shield full time when I started interviewing them. When I started asking them, okay, so what's my vacation time going to be like? Do I get the 10 days I got when I first started as a Marine, or do I have to earn these vacation times with you? And I was concerned about that, because the job was going to start around the same time I was going to convention to work on my professional development. So when they said, oh no, it's going to take you a whole year to earn, so many days, that interfered with my professional development, so I turned it down and I said no. And that's when I made the decision to do this full time, and it has been such a blessing because I've been able to help so many people, so many businesses, people calling and saying, you know what, if I didn't have that service, I would be under, or I would be this and I would be that, and that's basically what it's all about. So always follow your gut instinct.
Awesome. What great advice. Mine would be to wear sunscreen more. Just saying. Wear sunscreen. Put that sunscreen on, girl. So we definitely had some really good advice here. I mean, definitely stay at your parents' house as long as possible, right? Be strong, right? Travel more. I love that. I mean, because travel is experience. You really learn more about yourself. So those were really good things. And follow your gut. So many wonderful tidbits of advice that you would tell yourself. And this has been an amazing panel. We've gotten so much great information. So thank you, ladies. So now we have some time for Q&A. We have a mic set up here, so please feel free, or we can pass the mic around either way. I know you'll have some burning questions for the panelists. Come on. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Natalie Wilson, and I'm currently serving in the Marine Corps as a staff sergeant. So this question is more so for Ms. Lachey. All you other women can answer, feel free. But I actually want to ask you, I got 12 more years to retire, and I wonder what age or what year did you decide to say, this is what I want to do? Like, actually put your foot into it. I know, like, most times growing up, you say, I want to do this, I want to start my own business. What year did you finally say, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I'm going to do when I get out the Marine Corps?
That was August 29, 2003. About 14 years ago when I saw this opportunity, knowing that I can do it. And then I just started looking more into business while I was still active duty, because there's amazing things offered to you. What you need to do is go to the Small Business Center and find out about Boots to Business. That class is given by the awesome Stephen Gill and partners, and he's a retired Marine as well. That class will take you from beginning to end. You'll even work with a group of people to start a business, and you have to come up with the name, you have to come up with the marketing, you have to come up with the funding, you have to do all that. So to give you what we like to call OJT, on the job training, about how you're going to start the business itself. And then there's tons of resources. It's a 2-day course. It's free for you. Sign up. I know you can take leave, or you're a staff sergeant. I know you can just go. And then, because it's during the day, it's 2 days. Is awesome. The people from all over come and give you those tidbits on how to start and where to get started, and then you get to meet other people. And if you're thinking about it now, I say just do it. Just do it now, figure it out. That way when you transition, because transition is scary, it doesn't matter how prepared you are. I was prepared, but it's still a scary, dark little hallway, because you're so used to, like when they tell me I had to set my own dental appointments, I was used to I was used to the email saying, Gunny, it's time to go to dental, you class 4. But, but when you're out in the real world, you have to find your own dentist, and you got to set those appointments yourself. We don't realize as service members how spoiled we are. We are tremendously taken care of, even though sometimes we're like, what? But we are. So if you're thinking about doing it now, the thoughts are over, just go do it. Do you know what type of business it is you want to do?
Well, I'm athletic, so I was thinking about a community center. Then I guess progressing from there, so something small, getting the troubled teens, but that's more so I want to do.
Okay, so write down all your goals. A goal can't accomplish unless it's written. So write down all the goals and the things that you want to do to start that business. And then take that paper, figure out the pros and the cons, because you have time. What's so beautiful about you is you get a paycheck every 1st or 15th. So you kind of don't have that, oh my God, what am I going to do now? But we can't control our future in the Marine Corps either, because we don't know when that time is going to end via med board or whatever it may be. So start thinking about that stuff right now, and if you want to do that. So when it's time to transition, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, you're ready to go out there and start that community center, because most importantly, those troubled kids need you. So think about that.
Thank you. Yep, please, wait. Go ahead.
Wanted to ditto about the Boots to Business. It is probably one of the best curriculums out there that's not only available for active duty, but it's available to spouses as well. So even though I'm not new to business, I still attend that workshop every single year, regardless of where we're stationed. So head over to the Small Business Center and get signed up for the next class.
Yeah, that's a great plug. Yeah, so definitely check in with your small business center. You know, at the Marine base, the Air Force bases all across the state. Boots to Business is being taught as a transition course, and is also, like you said, available for spouses as well with online. Okay, any questions, or did you want to? What? Yep.
I would just also say, since you mentioned the Community Center and Troubled Youth, this is a specific, mission-driven, it's a purpose-driven focus. You might want to start looking, if you haven't already, into the regulations around what it's required and the cost for starting up as a for-profit or a nonprofit, because there's social good companies that are for-profit and there's nonprofits, and the rules are different and funding options are different, so you might want to start doing a little research into that too if you haven't.
Great.
And the Small Business Center did an awesome seminar on nonprofit, just so you know.
We love the Small Business Center.
Okay, we're going to pay you guys a little later. I'm starting to feel funny about that, but. And actually, I have to say, Boots to Business is this huge collaboration. The Women's Business Center, the organization that Browse is with, the Veterans Business Outreach Center, a lot of the collaborative organizations that are in the room today are a part of that Boots to Business program, so it's really excellent. Thank you for the kudos for that, but that's not what this is about. This is about you, so come on.
Hello, my name is Helene Ritter, and the question that I have is, because we only have 24 hours in a day, how did you go about putting together a schedule to ensure that you prioritize your time appropriately for your family and for your business?
So I do this neat thing that's called time blocking. So I have an 11-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and I run a brick and mortar shop. So my store is open from 12 to 5. So that only leaves me about 5, maybe 6 hours of working time. So I time block in 30-minute increments. So for me, it's not about completion all the time. It's making progress on a specific project. So I give myself enough time to meet my deadlines, whether it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. I work on that individual product in 30-minute increments throughout the day. I will physically set my phone for 30 minutes. I will work. It beeps, and then I move on to the next task. So that within whatever my timeline is to complete, I make sure that I complete it. In terms of balancing with the kids and work, I stopped trying to find that balance a long time ago. Yes, it is a myth. In my case, I don't beat myself up over it anymore. I go to work, I do the best I can, I come home, I play with my kids, I spend time with my family, and I just try to make it work. I just stop beating myself up over trying to make sure I have equal amount of time, because some days you're going to be pulled in one direction more than the others. And it's okay. It's okay if you have to work a couple of hours late on Monday, but maybe you're able to come home early on Wednesday. So I try to find some balance there, but I don't beat myself up over that anymore. So yeah.
That's good advice, because something will blow up sooner or later in one circle or another. I think, I joked earlier about when my husband's watching a movie and I'm scrolling through reading an article, because during a movie, we're not talking anyway. But a lot of it's just being present with what you're doing. When you're with your business, you're present in your business, and when you're with your children or your husband or your family, you're present with them and making the most of the time that you do have. It's quality over quantity in both cases.
And I have to say this, I actually do have date night scheduled with my husband, and you have to. You have to. So, and as far as, I'm an empty nester now. However, when my daughter was in the house, I made sure she was a priority. And if someone wanted to do something, needed me at 3 o'clock, but I knew she had a volleyball game, I already had a commitment at 3, so I would be available at 5. So I'm a close the circle kind of gal. On my schedule, I do have a schedule that I keep, and I make sure that my right-hand girl has a copy of that schedule. So we are on schedule during the day to make sure we accomplish our task at hand.
Calendars are powerful tools. There are 4 people in my office that have access to my calendar, 3 and me, and it's important that and I will block time not only for date nights and weekend trips and things like that, 23 years and going, bam, matters. But not only for that kind of thing, but make dates for yourself. I will block 2 hours on a day, and I'll stay out of office, and I will go sit at a coffee shop and work on things I want to think about instead of everybody else's 911. You can get caught up with a lot of people dropping monkeys on your desk. That's what we used to call it. Send the monkeys back out with them. Don't let them sit on your desk. You've got good people in your team. Get good people on your team, whether it's partners and mentors and associates and vendors, or it's employees or voluntold family members, whoever it is. Get good people to do what they're good at, and then let them do their job. And when they bring you I forget who said it first, and I cannot give them credit, I'm sorry, but I heard it said that someone will come into your office with an emergency, a problem, a crisis, right? Monkey on their back, and they'll drop it on your desk. This order didn't ship on time, I don't know what we're gonna do. Well, now you have this fire burning on your desk, or a wild monkey, right? So you turn it back around and say, well, what could you do? Right? And so leverage the skills of the people around you who are helping you, and don't dive into everything personally, but block those times on your calendar for you.
And one of the challenges when you work from home are that people think you do nothing when they don't see you, right? Mom, I left my PE shoes. Can you please bring them to the... Anybody had that happen? I'm at work. No, you're not. You're at home. So, that sometimes dedicate a specific area that you do your work, because I work on the couch, on the kitchen counter, in the bed, in the car, you have to, now there are times that that's just going to happen, but dedicate a place that you go to, even if it's, take the door off the closet, make your own little office space there, and if you have Lachey's app, you can, count that as your business space there in your house. But have a space that you do work, and sometimes you have to be vigilant with your family members or members of the community or your church, because they think that you're at home and you can volunteer all the time. Sometimes you have to learn to say no. Mm-hmm. And no business person, especially if you're a service industry, do you ever want to say no? But you have to learn to say no to be successful, and that sometimes is to your own family, and sometimes it's to yourself. My biggest challenge is we're always trying, like I said, I would be up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning doing things so that I could get kids off to school and be beneficial for them. But then I had no rest. How beneficial. So you guys make a time for yourself.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So just to kind of piggyback on what was said earlier, there's this mug that a friend of mine had, and this was more not necessarily in an entrepreneurship sense, but it said, lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part, right? So those things always kind of resonate. But wow, has this not been amazing? We have some amazing women up here. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I tell you, I really appreciate your candor, your honesty, and being here today to really help others, because as we all know, we build on other shoulders to move forward. So very proud of all that you do, and for the community that you're in, and for giving back. And thank you for being here. Yeah, let's give them warm applause. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. If y'all want to go ahead. Gosh, aren't we lucky just to have such great people in our community here, and just to really give back and be open and honest and compelling about what they do. So thank you so much. At this time, I would like to invite Sima Cardwell up to the podium. Sima is the Supplier Diversity Specialist at SAS Institute in Cary. SAS has been instrumental in supporting this event every time we have presented a new mission across the state. So let's welcome Sima to the stage. She wants to say a few things from SAS Institute. And again, I cannot express how grateful that we are with this conference, where SAS Institute's contributions and sponsorships, so we're able to have this at free, no cost. So Sima.
How are you ladies doing today? What a great panel, weren't they? So, do you guys know what SAS is? Anybody heard of it? No? Okay. So, yes? Okay. 1, 2 people. So, we're a software company based in Cary, North Carolina. So, we started on NC State's campus. We're about 41 years old now. So, we do data analytics. Everyone knows about analytics. Big thing right now. But so, I just thought I'd share a few things with you. But so, this page here that you guys have, great page, a lot of resources. So I just wanted to add a few things to that. But so we also have the NC Vet Biz. So I'll have some information there when I set up my table. And also NC for Vets, great resource. I have a few things from them. And also the North Carolina Veterans Working Group. We meet once a month. And if you can't go, they have a line you can call in and also view all the minutes. All the resources are on there as well. But North Carolina has 22,000 reserve members, 162,000 active military members, 766,000 veterans. That's impressive. And 35,000% of the population of North Carolina is made up of military veterans, spouses of veterans, or parents or dependents of veterans. So I just wanted to share, since we're a statistical company, some stats with you. But of course, But also, we are 5th in the number of women veterans in the nation. So that's pretty impressive too for all you women out there. So I just wanted to say a few things and thank you to Bryles. So enjoy your day.
Awesome. Thank you, SAS and SIMA very much for being here and for always supporting this event. We really do appreciate you. So in a few minutes, we're going to have an invocation by Adrian James, and then after that, we're going to start our networking luncheon, and the food is just right outside the door, and just for housekeeping, restrooms are right outside as well, just right across the hallway. We're going to have about 45 minutes for lunch and networking before our keynote address begins. So Adrian, will you please come to the podium to give our invocation? And for those of you that do not know Adrian, she is a pastor, and she is also the owner of her own family business, which is M&S Sanitation. And in addition, Adrian is the chair of the Chamber's Minority Business Services Division. So please welcome and kick off our lunch for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. As we ask your blessings upon this great event today, as the speakers have come and shared their experiences with us, we ask that you would help us to draw from them and implement them. May we be empowered, encouraged, and equipped to accelerate in our entrepreneurial success. Bless this, our community and its leaders. Bless all of our service members who are serving near and far. We ask that you would continue to protect and keep them and their loved ones. And help us to leave today, Father, walking in our new mission. We ask this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
It's great to be here today. I'm so excited. As Bryles said, I'm from Washington, D.C., so I'm driving south on my way to Myrtle Beach for a conference, and everything worked out great so I could come and join you all and speak with you all today, so I'm really excited. We're going to talk about how you can master your competitive advantage, and I'm going to do it against the backdrop of Sun Tzu and his Art of War, which, as you may know or may not know, and it's okay if you don't, is a classic military book on strategy written 2,500 years ago. If you know something about the Art of War, that's great. If you don't, you're going to know a lot more after today. I have a clicker that I'm not familiar with, so this should be fun. We'll see what happens next. All right. So why are we here today? What are we talking about? What's this groundswell behind the theme of our talk today? Well, as you probably know, there are a lot of women-owned and entrepreneurial businesses founded by veterans, as well as veteran spouses. This is old data, but it's some of the newer that I've found. Between 2007 and 2012, businesses owned by women vets increased nearly 300%. So there's a lot of women veterans doing really cool things, and spouses as well. And that went up significantly to 384,000 plus women veteran-owned small businesses. Cool, right? Okay? And that's higher than any other segment of the entrepreneurial economy. Women veterans, small businesses, startups are higher than any other segment of the entrepreneurial economy. How many of you currently today have an entrepreneurial business going, whether it's a lifestyle business or it's you've got employees or any number of? Hands up, hands up, hands up. Okay, good, that's great. How many of you can put this down? How many of you are thinking you want to do this? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, that's great. Well, my goal here today is to inspire you that you can. If you're not, you can. And if you are doing well, or sort of well, want to do better, you can do everything and anything that you want to do. Because where you guys came from and what you've done and your track records and your histories and your experiences is what it takes to be successful. So stick around. We're going to break this down a little bit more and talk about your competitive advantages. And we're going to go on a journey today. We're going to go to feudal Japan. We're going to go to ancient China during the Warring States period. We're going to go to an Iraq battlefield. We're going to go to business settings. We're going to go to a Chicago scrapyard. We're going to go to a lot of places, but we're really going to focus on where you are in your pursuits and where you want to go and what you can do to achieve your competitive advantage is what I call your uniquely feminine competitive advantage. What does that mean? Okay, so a little bit about me. That's me. Chad, the tech guy, said, "Is that you? You look so different." That's me teaching jiu-jitsu. I'm a grandmaster in jiu-jitsu. I've done it all of my adult life. What I've learned in jiu-jitsu is playing by somebody else's rules means the bigger guy wins, and I would always lose. So I had to learn, after many years of training in different martial arts, when I found jiu-jitsu, I had to learn to use a superior strategy and use the bad guy's energy, his force, his intention, his strength, his size against him. Because I couldn't defeat a big guy based on me being big and strong. That never worked for me. I tried and I failed. My point in this is that you have a competitive advantage. You have experiences, you have skills, you have knowledge, you have something that you can use, not to fight somebody or not to fight another business based on their strengths and their size, but based on what you bring to the table that's unique. You understand what I'm saying? It's about what you can do in a superior strategic way. So let's unpack that a little bit today. There we go. So here's Sun Tzu. How many have read Sun Tzu's Art of War? Just a few hands. I expected more, but that's okay. That's okay. It's a Chinese classic, like I said, written 2,500 years ago by Sun Tzu. It's significant because we're studying it in military settings of the United States, in military colleges, and throughout the military. It's been studied in the US, throughout the West, certainly throughout the East because it's Chinese. There are thousands of translations of the Art of War in Japan alone. And more importantly, maybe for you today, it's very well studied in business settings, in business schools throughout the US, throughout China, throughout the East, throughout the West. It's extremely well known and well studied. But a lot of times women don't necessarily want to study or don't have an exposure to the art of war because maybe it's seen as masculine, maybe it's seen as warmongering. It's really as much about peace as it is about war. So I want to inspire you to understand what you can gain from a text that you may not have studied, or maybe you have studied, and how you can apply it to your businesses. There we go. So we're going to focus today, the first half of the presentation is going to be on your pitfalls. And this is important. I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not saying every single woman makes these mistakes. I'm not saying that. And the second half of the presentation, I'm not saying every single one of you does this well. I'm not saying that. But we're focusing on some very common pitfalls for women and some very common areas where women tend to do well. So you can explore and start thinking about ways in which you could be putting some of these into practice or mistakes that you could be avoiding. My book over here, Sun Tzu for Women, goes into these in much greater detail. So Sun Tzu's Art of War, this is the essence of the art of war. Know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat. If you don't know what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, and what I'm calling your uniquely feminine competitive advantages, you're never going to be as successful as you could be. And some women go their entire careers, whether they're working in a corporate setting, whether they're working for a small business, whether they're working for a government or a nonprofit, without really understanding their uniquely feminine competitive advantages. I don't need to spend a lot of time on the idea of war as a metaphor for business. This is a fussy clicker. Am I not pointing in the right place? There we go. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, there's not always a comfort level with the idea of war as a metaphor for business. Given your experiences, I think there's probably a greater comfort level in this room than a typical corporate setting. But Sun Tzu says this: take advantage of the enemy's unpreparedness. Make your way by unexpected routes. What that means is do the unexpected. If you want to be successful in your small business, in your whatever your experience is in a business setting or a military setting, that's where it comes from, is a military setting. If you want to be successful, don't do what's anticipated. Don't do what's expected. Make your way by unexpected routes. So common pitfalls is where we're going to focus here first. So there are quite a few that I'm not going to go into all of these today. I'm going to go into the first 4. You'll see there's quite a few. Actually, I'm going to try to go into the first 5, keeping an eye on time. And I do talk really quickly because I want to get through a lot of stuff. So if there's anything that you're like, what does that mean? Repeat that? Throw your hand up and I'll come back to it. We're going to start with authenticity and the imposter syndrome. Does anybody know what the imposter syndrome is? Anybody have familiarity with that term? No, that's okay. You will? Okay, a couple. Excellent. Excellent. So this is Condoleezza Rice. In her mid-30s, Condoleezza Rice worked in the National Security Council. You know, she went on to become Secretary of State. But way before she was Secretary of State, she was a young woman in the National Security Council during the Cold War. Exciting times. Boris Yeltsin, who was a leader in Russia, came to the White House, and he wanted to meet with President Bush, the former President Bush. There were I'm from DC, a lot of political sensitivities, so the president couldn't just outright meet with him in a visible setting. He didn't want to discourage the growing democratic movement going on in the Soviet Union at the time, or at Russia at the time. So he wanted to meet with him on the down low. He wanted to meet with him in a non-public setting. So they couldn't make it official to Boris Yeltsin that there would be a meeting with the president. So Condoleezza Rice, a young woman, meets Boris Yeltsin, the Russian leader, as he enters the White House, and tells him, there will be no meeting with the president today. You'll be able to meet with General Brent Scowcroft instead, and you'll be able to have a discussion there. And this is Boris Yeltsin. It's the Cold War. He was resolute. And he said, no, I don't know who General Scowcroft is. I'm not meeting with him. And Condi's biographer says she was so staid in her composure. And she stared this Russian leader down for 5 minutes in the middle of the Cold War, well, toward the end of the Cold War. And her biographer says, and then suddenly, Yeltsin blinked. He said, okay, I'll do it. I'll meet with Scowcroft. And actually, President Bush happened to by, and they did have their meeting, and everything worked out for the best. But there's the political game that had to be played. But the reason that she was able to do that, the reason that she's able to have that sense of composure, is the idea of authenticity. The idea of her being so in tune with who she was, what her purpose was, what her skills were. And President Bush says she's disarming. Condi has this way of making even the biggest of the big shots disarmed. And why is that? Because they know, she knows what she's talking about. That's that spirit. And a lot of the art of war is about spirit. It's about energy. It's about the way in which we run our businesses or the way in which we wage battles that you really learn from your time in the trenches, so to speak. And this idea of authenticity dovetails with the idea of imposter syndrome, which we'll get to. Now, this is about these statistics come from large corporations, but I want you to think about how applicable they are for you in small business and entrepreneurial settings. Because one of the things that's been said about male entrepreneurs is that they tend to be more successful than women because they're bold and they make stuff up and they're there. They don't say, oh, I don't think I can do it, I don't know. I'm not saying they're liars, but they don't say, oh, I'm not sure. They say, okay, I'll do it, I'll take it. I'll take that risk. I'll step out. Whereas we tend to be a little more conservative and say, well, I'm not sure I'm ready. I haven't. I can't. I don't. I shouldn't. Here's a study of Kimberly Clark. Women believed, it's a large company. Women believed they needed to have 100% of the necessary skills in order to be promoted. You think the same is true of men? Men, they say, were comfortable taking a job, getting a promotion, asking for a job, with only 50% of the skills. What does that tell you? It tells you that we as women, I know there's men in the audience, I'm glad, please don't feel like I'm talking about you like you're not here, I appreciate that you're here. It means that we wait for permission. We wait until. If you're looking to start a business or grow a small business, y'all cannot wait for permission. You've got to say, well, I've got 50% of what it takes, and I'm going to grow the other 50% on the way. Step out and do it. Does that make sense? All right, it's a confidence issue where the women felt like they just weren't good enough. And you see this a lot of times in a business setting and probably your walks as well. Don't wait for permission. The imposter syndrome is a study, multiple studies, but one landmark study of 150 successful women in the C-suite or the executive suite, and they have the title, they have the pay, they have the fancy clothes, they have made it. What they found of this study of these women is that overwhelmingly, they feel like they're not good enough. They got promoted because they were lucky, because they knew people, whatever it was, but not because they were good enough. That's the idea behind the imposter syndrome. So if you feel like you're doubting yourself, you feel like you've got self-doubt, fear of somebody's going to find out that you haven't quite been as successful as maybe they think you are, it's common. You got to blast through it. You got to move through it. You got to realize that you have what it takes. And you've got to be able to reconcile your successes and realize where you came from and realize what you're capable of doing. One of the challenges with the imposter syndrome is women who suffer from it tend to overwork to make up for those shortcomings. I'm going to work harder and harder and harder and harder so that I can achieve and demonstrate how good I am, instead of looking back at what we've done and saying, wow, I've made it, I deserve what I have. This idea of overworking, you're going to see here again as I talk about some of the other pitfalls. This idea of authenticity is part and parcel and core to the idea of Sun Tzu's Art of War and the confidence issue. He says, it is a doctrine of war that we must not rely on the likelihood of the enemy not coming, but on our own readiness to meet him. Not on the chance of his not attacking, but on the fact that we have made our position invincible. We are ready. We have done what it takes. And if you're at the beginning of a journey, you have an experience to look back on, and you're on the way. You understand what I'm saying? You've got to not look ahead at what you don't have and be secure in what you have and what you have done. That's the idea of authenticity. You want to be able to project your best, your most genuine self, secure in yourself, up for any challenge. That's the idea of being authentic. The second pitfall. This is really, I'm going to talk a lot about a corporate setting with this and promotions and things of that nature. So it's definitely applicable for those of you who have bosses or work in an organization, but it is just as applicable for entrepreneurs. If you come away with anything today, I hope you'll come back to this idea of asking for what you want. It is a phenomenon with women. Another landmark study, Carnegie Mellon study of students with graduate degrees. I want you to really dwell on this, ladies and gentlemen. They found, this is old data, but some things have changed. I don't have time to get into a lot of the details, but it's still pretty common. Men open up for negotiations. This is about salary negotiations. So it may not be applicable to you as a business owner, but it will be applicable for any number of things you're negotiating for in your business. They found that men open up for negotiations 4 times more often than women. Does that surprise anybody based on your experiences? Just curious as what you've seen. And they found, coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, that the starting salaries of these men were 7.6%, or at the time, $4,000 more. The men asked for more, they got more on average. So put this into modern terms. Tasha and Buddy each get a job offer, or they're negotiating for a contract if you're starting a business or you have a business. Sasha doesn't negotiate for more, but Buddy does. Because he's comfortable negotiating, he's comfortable asking. He gets $7,000 more because he asks. By the end of 30 years, he's making $100,000 more because he asked that first time. We're less likely to ask for raises, promotions, better contracts, better deals, help at home, whatever it may be. We just work harder and say, well, maybe I'll get what I want if I just work for it. Hard work's great. You guys know hard work, but you got to ask. People don't know what you want unless you ask for it. We have 3 ways of not asking. We don't ask. We say, well, I'm not going to get it, so I'm not going to even bother. The second way is we ask indirectly. I'd been at a company for a year, and I was ready for my review and a commensurate increase in salary. And to this day, my boss at the time, she and I are really good friends, but I wasn't comfortable asking. And I went to her and I said, hey, how long have I been here? Gosh, a year, it's been a year. Do you believe that? Time really flies. And afterwards, I said, you know, I was trying to hint to you, this is some months later, after we both were at another organization, that I wanted a raise, it was time, and she said, I had no idea what you wanted. So I thought I was being very clear, but I was being indirect. She didn't understand. She's a direct woman. If I had said, hey, I've been here a year, it's time, we would have had a very serious conversation, and I would have gotten what I wanted. But I didn't have the confidence. That goes back to our first issue. And the third way is we commit to working harder. I'm going to show them how much I deserve it. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work overtime. I'm not going to go to the networking sessions and things like that. I'm going to be at my desk heads down. Doesn't work. It gets you more work for less recognition and less pay. You have to ask for what you want. The champion asks because they know if they don't ask, they're not going to get it. Sun Tzu said, miss no opportunity to defeat the enemy. Asking is part of taking advantage of an opportunity. Knowing when to fight. This is our third principle. I don't know that I can do all 5. We'll see. The third principle is knowing when to fight. This is a really common problem I hear among women. They say, I don't know when to stand up and say, I'm going to go to battle, metaphorically. Or when to just say, you know what, I'm going to pick the next battle. I want to put it in really clear terms. Actually, Sun Tzu's going to put it in really clear terms. He says, he who knows when to fight and when not to fight will win. Sun Tzu, he also said, never pick a battle unless you know you can win. So you've got to be strategic in when you go. Battle can be anything, right? It can be a difficult conversation. It can be negotiation. It can be going for a contract. It can be any number of things. You can define the battle in your own terms. Battle's not a bad thing, right? It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's gaining territory, gaining ground, gaining something, gaining revenue. This is Pat Russo. She became an executive at Lucent. But earlier in her career, she was working as an account rep. And it was really clear, I mean, this was earlier in her career. This was when things were a little less blatant. And it was very clear that the client would not work with her because she was a woman. They made it very clear to management, look, get us a man. We'll continue on, but we're not going to work with this young chick. So she said, okay, fine, you know, I'll find another client, and I'll work with somebody who's going to appreciate me based on my skills, and she did. And she became an executive at Lucent, whereas nobody's talking about the clients anymore. So that was a good example of just saying, you know what, this is not a battle that I'm going to gain anything from. This is Carly Fiorina. You may know Carly Fiorina for running for Congress. Actually, she ran for president as well, so she's pretty well known. But she presided over the HP Compaq merger. She was a tech rock star. Carly Fiorina, back in the day when I was working in the tech industry, was a hero. So I say all that to say, big shot, big deal. Okay? Early in her career, she's a sales rep. And her boss introduces her to a client this way. He says, meet Carly Fiorina, our token bimbo. That's what she probably thought. This is earlier, this is not today, this has been decades ago. She waited, she kind of giggled along at the joke. And then later she went to his office and said, you are never going to talk to me like that again. That was a battle she had to take on at the right time, at the right place, under the right circumstances. Now, in 2017, you might have had that conversation right then and there in front of that client. That's a different time and a different place. But she got what she wanted out of it because she was able to, she stood to lose. She's going to work for somebody who's going to belittle her for her whole career. That's a battle she had to fight. Sun Tzu says this: move, go to battle, maneuver only if there is a real advantage to be gained. You see the contrast between advantage to be gained and troglodytes you don't want to work with anyway? Fiorina had a real advantage to be gained. Take action if it is to your advantage. Cancel the action if it is not. Think about that as you're building your businesses, growing your businesses, launching your startups, launching your ideas. Take action if it is to your advantage. Cancel it if you don't truly stand to gain. Don't just fight. Don't just fight. Champions fight strategically. Women, we can be savvy about battles. I mentioned my jiu-jitsu example for a reason. I don't just want to fight the big guy based on my size and strength. I can't. I've got to outmaneuver him. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. If you don't have to waste resources and expenditures and people, and you can just outmaneuver, do that instead. That's the idea behind jiu-jitsu. Know when to stand up, when to acquiesce. Winners know the difference. Hard work alone. I'm going to move past this, and we might come back to it. Give you just a little. So the point here is you've got, actually this is important for networking. You guys, you ladies, can't just put your heads down and work and work and work and work when you grow in these businesses. You have to work. But you have to leverage your networks, places like this. Every opportunity. Here's what men know. Men know it's a game. Men know how to leverage the networks, how to go to different mixers and things like that whether it's a golf outing within their company or whether it's something that the chamber's putting on or whatever your local nexus of business is. Men know they have to get out and they have to be visible. They know it's about the informal network. We want to just do the work. We want to just get the work done and be based on merit. Guess what? It's not fair. It's not about merit. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to get through everything. We are also more likely to have a network that's primarily only women. Or maybe that looks like us, right, in terms of our socioeconomic status. So if we are not the most advantageous group, why would we want a network that looks like us? Make sense? You've got to have a network that it includes the people with the power, with the decision-making, with the authority. Step outside of yourselves. Whether you're a man, woman, whatever your background is, build a network that can give you access to people who can open your doors, not just people you're comfortable with. I'd like to spend more on this, but we will jump into, this is really applicable for you all. I don't get into this with all of my groups, but I really wanted to talk about it with you guys. Fear in the comfort zone. Some of you who've been in military settings, been in battlefields, or the spouse of a husband or whatever your status is, you guys know battle. You know what it's like to be afraid that maybe somebody won't come home, or maybe you won't come home. You understand fear. You've come to terms with it in a way that a lot of folks haven't and will not. So my question is, how will you leverage fear as an entrepreneur? How will you use the fear that you know how to get over and overcome because you've been there? How will you leverage that for your business? Fear, often it's the fear of consequences of an action. What will happen if I do this? What will happen if I take risks? That's what fear is in a business setting. Oh, if I do this, I'll have a negative outcome. And that keeps us, we were talking about this at our table. People can tell us, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do, don't try that. That fear of taking those risks. Do we have a self-fulfilling prophecy that allows us to fail? Well, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'll be successful. He tried it and failed. She tried it and failed. Use it to your advantage. Use that fear. Use that, I'm not sure I can, to be bold and step outside of yourselves and do something you didn't think was possible. If you stay in your comfort zone, you are never going to achieve what you really want to achieve. This is Rhonda Cornum. She is a hero. She is a picture of overcoming fear. There have been fewer than 100 women POWs in the history of the United States. She was shot down, she's a medic, shot down aboard a Black Hawk helicopter in Iraq. Two broken arms, broken finger, gunshot wound in the back, eye glued shut, really bad shape. Again, the injuries go on and on and on and on. She crawled out from under the wreckage. She was taken into custody by the bad guys and experienced what she calls sarcastically as the famous sexual assault episode. All this to say, when she went to Iraq, she knew what could happen to her. She knew the possibilities that could confront her, and she still went. And she was successful, and she wasn't in POW for very long, thank God. She was able to come home and be successful, and this is her homecoming. She said, it's not the event that causes the reaction. It's what we think or believe about the event. If you can imagine your worst case scenario in starting your business, the worst case scenario is it's not successful, it fails. Businesses fail all the time. If you can reconcile the belief that the risk you're taking, maybe it won't work out. Okay, do it anyway. That's the idea of overcoming fear, saying, I'm already ready. I'm already ready for whatever can happen. I'm prepared. I've been there. I've done that. Or I'm going to be there. I have the presence of mind to be successful. I want you all to think about how you've overcome and leveraged fear in your careers and how you can apply that to your business, because I know you can. Sun Tzu writes a lot about fear. He said both advantage and danger are inherent in moving for an advantageous position. So if it's dangerous, if it's risky, if it's scary, you're moving someplace better. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. If in the midst of difficulties we are always ready to seize an advantage, we may extricate ourselves from misfortune. It's when things are tough that you're able to be the most successful, that you're able to really thrive, not when things are going well. So we wrap this all together. Sun Tzu said, in war, the victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory's been won, whereas who's destined to defeat first fights and afterwards looks for victory. It's a mouthful. What it means is, have your preparation, your confidence, your overcoming fear, your ability to ask for what you want, your ability to network, to step outside of yourself. Have all of that ready, so you have already won the battle. You go into the conference room, the negotiation table, the client meeting, the funding presentation with the idea that you've already gotten what it is you want. You've already won before you go to battle. Does that make sense? That's the heart. That's at the heart of the art of war. You've already won. You've already been victorious. Every battle is won before it is fought. That's an internet translation, but it's still pretty good. Every battle is won before it's fought. All right, now breathe. Because that's the pitfalls. That's the negative stuff. Those are some of the common issues, challenges, quagmires that we tend to give into as women. You all are still with me, right? Yes. You ready for the positive, the uplifting? Good, good. I start here, so yes, ma'am. Okay. I can't do that. That's an IT thing. So she wants you want the slides on the screen?
Well, I'm sitting here, and so I've got this choice of a slide it out, and that one's at the wrong angle. I don't mean to be difficult. That's would be on that screen.
Yeah, and I don't have any control over that. I don't know if they can change that in the control room. I hate to say, yeah. Sorry. I mean, I hate to say move, but I mean, maybe if you move to another place where you can see that, maybe your best course. I'm sorry. I have no control over it. Okay. Yeah.
There's a better seat over here. Come on.
All right. So, primary success attributes, the positives. I'm going to talk about these 4, I think. I've got 4. Yeah, we're going to go through these. These are the 4 I think are most applicable for you guys. Okay, so I mentioned earlier the idea of fairness. It's not, here you go, ma'am. What's that? Oh, and now they changed it, maybe? See, she asked for what she wanted. Yeah. All right. Woo! Oh no, what did I didn't ask for what I wanted. Let's go back. There we go, cool. Okay. It's not fair. Let's all come to grips with that. Okay? So the reason we're talking about leveraging your uniquely feminine competitive advantages is because it's not fair. Women don't get as much funding as men. Women don't have this advantage. We don't have that advantage, regardless. So what are your advantages, and how can you put those into place for you to be successful? This is a hip throw. Some of you have probably done a hip throw. I worked out with, this reminds me of a technique I did with my mentor. We went to school together, we had a small foyer in my dorm room, and we would spar in there sometimes. This is when I'm studying jiu-jitsu. And it's a very cold institutional room. It's the cement walls, and the floor is that cold tile. We didn't have any sparring gear or anything like that. He was a lot better than me. His name was Uche. He'd been training. He's from Nigeria. He'd been in the military in Nigeria. He had no rules to the way he fought. He just went in to be successful. And I had all these rules, and this is what you do, and this is what you don't do, and this is the proper way, and this is the improper way. I played by a set of rules. He didn't have any rules. He just went for it. And he picked me up at one point and was about to drop me on the ground, much like that, and caught me so I couldn't land as hard as I would have. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's more experienced. It's not fair. I trained with him for years and years and years, and with my instructor, learned how to put a superior strategy together so that I could use my skills and my attributes to my benefit versus going force with him. So it's about understanding that it's not fair and behaving strategically, running your businesses strategically. So we're going to talk about these competitive attributes now, so you think about what it means for you to play more superiorly on an unfair battlefield. All right, there we go. So the first concept we'll talk about is collaboration. Again, remember, I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not suggesting that every single woman in this room is a brilliant collaborator. You might not be. Collaboration is working with others, bringing out the best in other people. If you're in a situation or in an office or a setting or whatever your job is, and you're told just to sit over there and do your job, but in your heart, you're really good at pooling people's skills together and collaborating and bringing out the best in everybody, you're not going to be fulfilled. So a lot of times these competitive advantages are also about how to be fulfilled in your career, how to be happy with the work that you're doing, how to be satisfied. If you're a good collaborator, your business should be based on your ability to collaborate, your ability to bring people together, bring out the best in everybody. Meg Whitman was a CEO of eBay, and she grew eBay from 20 people to a billions of dollar company because she was a brilliant collaborator. She had an active and fair listening style. She worked with the business partners. eBay was about developing those strategic alliances, and that's how the business was able to grow, because she was able to bring out the best in the partners, in her employees. She was called a chief executive enabler because she knew she had that collaborative, nurturing style. That's very different than a dictatorial, do it this way, do it that way style of management. If you're a collaborative person, make sure that that's coming out in your competitive advantages and how you're doing business, how you're running your business. Alpha females, we are less domination-oriented, less dictatorial. We're better attuned to the emotional climate. We're able to look for consensus among other people. We want to build rich relationships rather than saying, well, you're a lower rank than me, or you make more than me. We're able to look across and say, how can we build an organization where everybody benefits? That's a collaborative sort of style. Geraldine Laybourne was president of Disney ABC. She talked about playing Scrabble with her husband. She said, and this is an idea, just think about this in the business context. She says, when we play Scrabble, I want everybody to do well. I want everybody to be successful. She said, I don't have to see blood to be happy. He did. He does. What are your goals and objectives? Not playing by somebody else's set of rules. It's your business. You set the rules. You set it up so you can be successful. Sun Tzu says, he whose generals are able and not interfered with by the sovereign will win. If you're able to build a business on your terms, don't let anybody else tell you different. Intuition. So when you think about a corporate setting or any sort of setting, you think about what you look for someone to be successful, intuition is probably not on that list of strengths. But this is important for so many women, the idea of intuition, because a lot of women, we tend to be intuitive. But in a business setting, we might say, oh, well, that doesn't feel right. I don't sense that that's right. But I don't have a rational reason for it, so I'm just going to tamp down that intuition. I'm just going to tamp down what my spirit, what something is telling me is true or right or wrong, where really you should be leveraging your intuition if you are an intuitive person. And some men are intuitive. This is an experience, so you saw the girl on the sled, right? Okay. Oh, gosh, okay. I got all the way to 3. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. Okay, so I was 13 years old, and I was going sledding with a friend. And I ended up breaking my femur. I was 13 years old. I was in traction and a body cast for months and months and months. And my mom said, I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have let you go sledding. I just knew there was something wrong. It was like any other day. It wasn't anything unusual about that day of sledding. But my mom had a sense. Now, I probably would have gone anyway because I wasn't going to listen. I was 13, I knew everything. But my point is, if you use your intuition, you can use it for really good outcomes versus just saying, no, that's not how the guys do business. That's not how you're supposed to do business. If it's a competitive advantage for you, leverage it. So then we'll talk about the strong gut feeling of intuition is a number 2 factor in how women entrepreneurs make decisions. So leverage it. Women are very intuitive. Marcia Serlin of United Scrap Metal said this. Women are very intuitive, and we do such a great job of knowing when to get in something and when to get out something. Listen to your gut instinct. Sun Tzu said that you are certain to take what you attack is because you attack a place where the enemy cannot protect. No one can out-strategize your intuition. If you're an intuitive person, nobody can out-strategize that. That's a real advantage that you might be able to leverage if you are intuitive. Again, not diagnosing you, but maybe you're intuitive. The young lady with the local TV station asked the question about what are some real skills that women tend to have. This is very common among women, and maybe it doesn't apply to you, and certainly it applies to some men as well. Emotional intelligence, or an EQ. Women tend to have a much higher emotional quotient than men. That's the ability to read others, body language, sensitivity to the environment. Women outperform men in 11 out of 12 key emotional intelligence indicators and competencies. So this is really significant. This is our ability to control our emotions, our ability to sense the emotions of others when something's not right, when someone needs something, and to be able to build relationships. We score higher in self-management, social awareness, relationship management. And in self-awareness, we score evenly with men. The point in this is if you have a high EQ and you're not leveraging it in your business, you are not going to achieve the successes that you could achieve. So if you have a high EQ, you need to be leveraging it. Again, reading others, detecting problems in a sales environment with a client. If there's something that they're not saying, you may be able to pick up on that and read that based on your uniquely feminine competitive advantage. We're more likely to stay calm under pressure, to solve conflict, to show empathy, to work with team members, to be self-aware, and understand the strengths and weaknesses of others, which is so key in building and growing a business. We are 45% more likely to be seen as demonstrating empathy consistently. That's really important when you're building with client relationships and partnerships. We outperform in coaching and mentoring, influence, inspirational leadership, conflict management, organizational awareness, adaptability, teamwork, and achievement orientation. This emotional quotient stuff is a big deal. So if you're not familiar with this and what this means and its ramifications for your business and your career, I encourage you to become familiar with it and learn more about how to leverage your EQ. And Sun Tzu, he didn't call it emotional quotient back then, but he said, there are 5 serious faults of a general. This is how we maintain our emotional balance and are successful. If he's reckless, he can be killed. If he's cowardly, he can be captured. If he's quick-tempered, he can be prone to rage and make a fool out of himself. If he has too delicate a sense of honor, he's liable to fall into a trap because he's insulted. If he is of a compassionate nature, he may get bothered or upset. So that's an ancient Chinese application of the importance of an emotional quotient. Stanford study. This, I'm going to open it up for questions here before too long, but this is really, really cool. I want you to think about this because this ties together the emotional quotient and your ability to leverage it. The Stanford study of 132 business school graduates over 8 years. They found that women who were assertive, aggressive, and confident, but, this is the important part, but they could turn it off and turn it on, dial it up and dial it down based on the circumstance, the confrontation, the engagement, the discussion, the relationship, were more likely than other women to get promoted and more likely than men to get promoted. What does that mean? That means your ability to read other people, to be sensitive to an environment, to use your instinct, to use your intuition, can be a real advantage for you. Don't just say, well, this is how you're supposed to do business. This is how I've seen it done. How can I be successful? How can I use my advantages and my attributes to be successful? It's the idea of being an authentic chameleon. So you know who you are. You're authentic. You know what your strengths and weaknesses are, but you can adapt and morph to a situation. You can have a conversation with someone that's very empathetic and very say, you know, I agree with you and we're going to do it your way. Another conversation, you can say, look, you're wrong and here's why. Depends on the circumstance. You understand? It's that adaptability to the circumstances and to the environment. Sun Tzu writes a lot about deception. In a business sense, I like to look at it more about perception, creating a perception. When able to attack, we must pretend to be unable. When employing our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we're far away. When we're far away, we must make him believe that we are near. When you're growing your business and you're competing against enemies and adversaries, the idea of making him or her or them think that something else is happening besides what's really happening can be really, really critical, really, really important. And I might close with, well, let me stop and kind of gauge a pulse of the room. I've got a little more than 10 minutes left. Is that right? Are there any questions that anybody has at this point for me about Sun Tzu, the art of war, how this applies, any of the concepts? Not a single question. Wow. Okay. Well, let me keep going then. Let me do one more of the competitive attributes, and that's passion. I think this is really applicable for you all. Many women business owners equate their businesses with their life's purpose. Their business purpose and their life's purpose they see enmeshed and intertwined. They're so passionate about their business. They talk about it like it's a child. It is part and parcel of who they are. Jack Welch was the CEO of General Electric. Jack Welch, so women tend to talk about their businesses and they talk about their education, they talk about their families. When you're at a networking event, you're getting this whole picture of who this woman is. Jack Welch, for example, in his autobiography, Straight from the Gut, he devoted just a couple of sentences to each of his marriages because it's about business. But with women, we are less motivated, tend to be, again, gross generalizations, but we tend to be less motivated by ego and money and more by serving others, by nurturing, by putting our values in place in our businesses. If you don't have a value-driven business and you just want to generate revenue, that's okay. But my point is, if you are a passionate person and you are driven to something, and it can be in a business context, put that into place because you might be hearing something that you need to be leveraging. The idea of passion can be a real advantage for women. Many, many women from a corporate setting come out of a corporate setting and start a business, many women, because they feel undervalued, unfulfilled, underestimated in the corporate setting that they're in. They might be making money, they might be successful, but they're not, that call in their lives, they're not getting what they want out of that cubicle or that executive conference room or that C-suite, wherever it may be. So they step out and they say, this is mine. I'm passionate about this. If that's you, how are you leveraging that in your business? How will you leverage? This is a 5-time CEO. She put it like this. The idea of, for many women business owners, the idea is, it is an existential flight to a place where who and what they are, how they like to work, and the things they care about are not just tolerated, but given a dynamic and central role. Does that sound like something you want to do? The things that you care about are given a dynamic and central role? If so, you might just have this passion as a competitive advantage. And if you're not putting it into place in your current job or situation, whatever it is, this is an opportunity for you. United in the sense of what I need to do with my life. He whose ranks are united in purpose, Sun Tzu said, will win. United in terms of what you want to do with your business, who you are, what your skills are. So with that, we've got about 10 minutes left. I think what I'd like to do is see if there are any questions. I think I'll close with a story here of Marcia Serlin. I mentioned her earlier. She's the founder of United Scrap Metal. And this is an illustration of deception. It's also an illustration of being underestimated. You might be in a business, starting a business, in a family where you're underestimated. I don't think you can do that. You can try that, but I don't think you're really going to be successful. Guess what? You can use being underestimated as a competitive advantage. Sun Tzu said, turn your disadvantage to advantage. So with me, with the jiu-jitsu master thing, nobody expects I'm really going to be able to defend myself. So when I throw somebody on their behind, it hurts that much more because I don't look like it. It's the deception. It's the perception. Does that make sense? How can you turn your disadvantages to advantages? I want you to think about that all the time in terms of your businesses. So Marcia Serlin was coming out of a bad marriage. She was raising children on her own. She didn't have a lot of free time. But she knew somebody who had a scrap metal business. And she said, you know, this guy's home a lot during the day. He has some free time. I'm going to start, she's in Chicago. I'm going to start a scrap metal business. Well, she found that it was a lot more work than she thought. It was 7 days a week, and it was go, 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 go. She said she started out, and she had the small property where she ran the business out of, and she said it looked like a dilapidated, the Sanford & Son TV show, if you remember that? It looked like the Sanford & Son TV show set. It's this dilapidated building, and she said she'd go out on the scrap metal yards, and she'd buy this metal and recycle it, and that's how they built the business. She said she was the only woman out there. The guys just kind of thought she was a novelty at first and just laughed at her, and then eventually they just stopped paying attention. They didn't regard her at all. They didn't think that she was a real threat. So she bought this property, and it's fallen apart, looks dilapidated, and she's clandestinely building this scrap metal empire behind the scenes from what nobody could see it from the street as you drive by, but she's growing and growing and growing. She started to get more and more contracts, and it became a very successful venture. Today it's worth billions of dollars, United Scrap Metal. But it came from just a dream, a few $100s, a rented truck, and being totally underestimated because no one thought that she could do it. He who's well prepared and lies in wait for an enemy who is not well prepared will win. Preparation, being ready for whatever you have in front of you, well prepared. Whereas your enemy, your adversary, they're not taking you seriously. It can be a real competitive advantage, a real differentiator for you. I think that's all that I'm going to really go through. I won't go into that. But remember, be ready, be prepared. You guys have been through so much in your careers, in your lives. I know you have. Every battle's won before it's fought. You have preparation. You have experience. It may be military experience or family experience, but don't let anybody tell you that that's not applicable for your business. Don't let anybody tell you that. Instead, you've got to think creatively about how you can apply that in your business. And I guess I will, and I keep saying I'm going to wrap up. I want you to think about what you bring to the table that's unique. So these are two Olympic gold medalists, boxing and judo. Both are gold medalists. Kayla Harrison and then Sheila, I forget her last name. But she's probably the only girl at the boxing gym. If you put her on a balance beam, she'd probably do about as well as I would do. You put her in a pool, she'd probably drown. She wouldn't be a very good swimmer, a very good gymnast. But she's a gold medal judoka, and she's a gold medal boxer. They found ways to be successful based on their attributes, based on what they do well. Not somebody saying, well, if you're going to go to the Olympics, you want to be a gymnast or you want to be a swimmer. They were able to excel based on their skills, their body types, what they wanted to do. Instead of playing by somebody else's rules, they played by rules that were advantageous for them. So I want to just challenge you in closing to think about how you can change the rules of the game to put your competitive advantages into place. How you can think strategically about building your business, what your experiences have been, what your skills are, what your assets are. And I want you to also think about some of the pitfalls we've talked about. Are you not asking for what you want? Are you second-guessing yourself? Are you fearful? Those things, I want you to think about how you can improve those and overcome those. When I do workshops where I really go into and break down some of those attributes and those pitfalls as well, so women can kind of self-assess and find out where they are and how they can improve. With that, I'm going to close with the same quote I opened with. Know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat. You've got to know your strengths. You've got to know your weaknesses for your business to really be successful. If it's your business or you're in a leadership position, you have to know those strengths and weaknesses. Any questions at all for me? I have some books over here. I'd be happy to sign any books if anybody wants any, answer any questions. Sometimes people like to talk one-on-one. I'm happy to do that. But before I turn it over, any questions for the group? Yeah, a couple. Please, I'll start with you here in black. Hi. Yeah, I want to know who you are.
Hi, my name is LaToya Scott.
Okay.
Final Touch Models.
All right.
So I have a question about negotiating.
Okay.
So I didn't realize I had a problem with that.
Oh. So you're saying you're worth 10, but you asked for 5 and they paid you 5?
Well, I'm just saying, just in general, like how do you, like is there a way you can like go back or you just have to wait until you
Well, you can go back with more. You can go back and say, hey, last time you paid 5 for this. Now we offer this, and it's worth that much more. So you'll have to demonstrate value after the sale for the re-up. But you can't. But what you should do is you should ask LaToya.
Yeah.
Ask yourself why you aren't asking for 10. That's the question you have to ask yourself. Why do you go in and say, okay, I'll sell to you for this if you're worth more? You don't have to answer me. You can, but I want you to think about that. Because the first time you ask for 10 and somebody gives it to you, it makes it a whole lot easier to do it in the future. Right? Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Was there another question over? You want to go to the mic? Do you want to?
I think I'm loud enough.
Okay.
Thanks. I'm Raven Dodson with Woodman Life. We work with financial assessments, insurance, and that sort of thing. And one of my questions for you is, obviously, you have progressed through your years and evolved into what you're doing now. Was there a wow moment that led you into leveraging what you were doing in life with this profession? And kind of a caveat onto that is you obviously had to retrieve referrals in order to continue building your business. Was there a specific wow moment, and how do you continue to build your referrals?
Yeah. So I'm also a marketer. I really didn't get into a lot of my other background. I'm also a marketer. I'm a marketing strategist, so I have a marketing background. The wow moment was serendipitous, and I think you'll find that too in your business. I put my book out, and I got a call from Oscar Mayer saying, "Can you come speak?" Yeah, I can come speak. That was wow. Like, people want to hire me to speak about my book. I mean, and then I started to promote that and be more aggressive, and then building that referral network from there. But you can't be cautious. I went back to Oscar Mayer again. I've spoken at Delta several times, at Delta Airlines. But you have to go back. You go back, and who do you know? Who else can I speak with? So don't be shy. Don't feel like, well, here's a mistake a lot of people make. They say, well, we worked with this company and they already know what we do. Well, maybe they don't know 4 or 5 things you do. So don't be shy. Keep going back. I mean, don't become a nuisance, but go back with more of your story and what you could do to benefit them.
Thank you.
I don't know. I hope that's helpful. Good questions. Anybody ever here want to balance the room out with a question? Okay. I think that's perfect in terms of timing. It's 1:30 now. I will close. I'm going to stick around for a little while, so if I can answer any questions one-on-one, I'm happy to do that. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today and speak with you all, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you so much.
Chad, I know you're watching out there in IT room. Is this going to work if we mute Miss?
Let's see here.
Yeah.
I think I hit the mute. I'm not sure. There we go. You got the mute.
All righty then. Okay. So as she's leaving the stage, one more round of applause for Becky Sheets. Let's give it our best shot. Oh, I like that. So Carol, just want to thank you for being, she's not even looking. Thank you for being the plant in the room to ask for what you wanted, right? And Chad delivered amazingly well, so that was fabulous. So I hope you really enjoyed that. This has been a great experience so far, and we're not done. We have a little more to go. I want to bring up the next part of our program, which is Food for Thought, Opportunities in Agriculture. This is a special feature of our program today. It's designed by the Rural Center and supported by our local farmers market and North Carolina Cooperative Extension. To moderate this session, I'm pleased to introduce my friend and colleague, Barry Ryan, Senior Director of Programs at North Carolina's Rural Economic Development Center. Barry plays a number of key roles for the Rural Center, where he currently leads its rural development programs, including entrepreneurship, microenterprise lending, leadership development, and community engagement. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Barry Ryan.
All right, thank you, Ann. Let me turn this on. We're on now. So thank you, Ann. Pleasure to be here. Thank you to Ann, April, Bryles, all those who have supported this event. It's really been a pleasure for me to have been a part of it over the years and watch it grow and to see all this energy in the room. There's a lot of passion and energy here. And I want to take a moment to try and channel some of that as our panelists come up. So I'm going to invite them to come up. And then I'm going to invite everyone else. Let's see if I can just go like this real quick. I'm going to invite everyone else to stand up. We've eaten lunch. We're going to be talking about food. We're not hungry, but we might be a little full. And so we're also, as our panelists come up, I've heard a lot of themes throughout the day about entrepreneurship, about investing in yourself, about don't wait for permission, go for it, about bootstrapping your business. So I want to hone in on that bootstrapping your business. And let's do a visualization here. We're all either entrepreneurs or thinking about entrepreneurs or supporting entrepreneurs. So let's do a visualization activity and let's put on our entrepreneur boots. And so before you put them on, picture them in front of you. Your entrepreneur boots, what do they look like? Are your boots maybe have a little mud on them because you're growing something in the field? Are your boots Italian leather with a really spiky heel, right? Are your boots, maybe your entrepreneur boots are still military boots. That'd be a great thing. Picture what your boots look like. And now I want you to grab your boots by the bootstraps and put them on. Do it for me. Do it. Come on, everyone. I know it's cheesy, but I think one of the messages we heard today is if we want to be entrepreneurs, y'all can sit down now. If we want to be entrepreneurs, we want to start our business, we want to be active in our community, we want to make change in our community, however we do that, there are times when we have to be extraordinary. And I've been told by several people I admire and love and work with that if you want to be extraordinary, you cannot be what? Right. Sometimes you got to be a little cheesy, you got to be a little silly, you got to ask the right questions, you got to not wait for permission. So the themes of today, I love it. And so I just wanted to get y'all standing up as our panel comes up. And so one more note about as we talk about this panel, this is a conversation about food and agriculture, and a lot of these businesses either are in that space or they're right next to that space, literally. And it's an important part of our economy in a rural community down east, and it's an important driver for how we think about opportunities for growth, connections. I think the food economy is a great way to talk about entrepreneurship because everyone can relate to it. So we're going to have a really great conversation, but one of the things I want to make sure is that this is participatory. This is food, and food is best enjoyed with others. So I want you all to feel free to ask questions. I'm going to ask the first question, but y'all are welcome to jump in. Probably one of the most often depicted meals in the history of mankind is the Last Supper. Can y'all picture that Da Vinci painting of the Last Supper? Right, everyone's sitting up here as if we're part of a wedding party. Well, the painting's not actually accurate in what it depicted. Turns out they were all sitting on mats on the floor, lounging, actually eating with their hands. I'm not going to ask you all to sit on the floor, don't worry. But the point is that there were two sides to the table. So y'all are on the other side. Be sure you ask questions, get involved, participate, get what you need out of this. We've talked a lot about investing in yourself. The opportunity to invest is to engage, right? Be a network, be a part of something. So let's introduce our panelists. I'm excited about this. This is a great group. So I want to start with Tara Kaysen. She is the owner and producer of Made by TRC. Thank you for being here. Next in order, Jordan Jones. Jordan owns Brass Bell. She's got some really cool products over there. Y'all need to see those. I hope she'll tell you about them. Next, Kathlena Thorpe with Southern Sheep Company. I'm out of order here, sorry. They mix it up on me. Kathlena's at the end. Next, in the middle, Roxanne Reed. Roxanne is actually a serial entrepreneur, and her next venture is working to start an organic farm, so she's going to tell us about that. And last but not least, Tanita Salanto. She is the owner of Green Panda Farm. So please take a moment with me and welcome our panel. All right, so let's start out with the panel. Y'all have got the mic here. Hopefully it's on. If not, I'll help with that. Let's start. Just introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your business and why you got started in that business.
Hello, my name is Tara Kaysen. I'm the owner of Made by TRC and the sole producer. I'm kind of the abstract thought process here, as in agriculture has given me an opportunity to present my products to the community. I sell my products, which are mostly hand-sewn quilts and keychains and just hand-sewn goods. I sell them at the farmer's market, which because of the growing agricultural movement has become these huge, amazing events. So that's why I'm here and what I do. So.
And my name is Jordan. I own Brass Bell, and that started because my husband and I went to a gun show, and I saw this woman had some bullet earrings, and I was like, that is a really cool idea. And a couple months later, my husband and I were out shooting in the backyard because we're a bunch of rednecks. That's what we do. So I pick up a shell, and I thought, I could make my mom something for Christmas, just like I saw that lady had. A couple months later, and I somehow managed to run my business, and now it's with the farmer's market, and we also have a couple acres that we farm. We have hogs, we have a goat, chickens, ducks, geese, whole 9 yards. I just need a cow.
Well, you would like to come to my farm. We just put a range up. Yeah. My name is Roxanne Reed, and I have built a number of businesses here in Onslow County, and I've also been blessed to stand up a 501c3, so I've been through quite a number of those startups. I became a farmer completely by default, by chance. My husband retired from 20 years in the Marine Corps, and he said, honey, wouldn't it be such a great idea if we just got a plot of land and had a cute little house on it, and I could have a little range and, get away from the area. I said, oh, sounds great. Sounds great. So we found this great little place out in Sampson County. Next thing you know, I'm starting to fall in love with John Deere tractors, figuring out, it just was so fun to be out there. And I came from a line of serial entrepreneurs as well. And my grandfather was a butcher. And he actually, as a child, had spent a lot of time up in Canada farming on one of my uncle's farms, or his uncle's farm. And so he had taught me a lot of things about traditional French farming style. And I said, well, this is kind of cool. Maybe I can bring this to light here. So our farm, it's Blue Egg Organics, but it's all based on traditional French style farming. And I actually play classical music, French classical music, to my fields and to my animals.
Hi, I'm Tanita Salanto, and I'm the owner of Green Panda Farms. I'm not a traditional farmer either, because by trade I'm an IT corporate person. I'm a Navy veteran, and kind of got inspired by farming and farmers about a year ago after attending a farming conference. So that is how Green Panda Farms was born. I grow microgreens and microherbs right now, and we're looking to expand into other types of farming. My farm is not a traditional farm, as I do indoor farming. So we have greenhouses and things like that. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Hi, my name is Kathalina Thorpe, and I'm here on behalf of my mother, actually. She is the owner and operator of our business. Used to be called East Carolina Corriedales, but we've expanded so much with our breeds of sheep. We do a lot of sheep-based product. Our goal is to use everything, create as little waste as possible, and to make as much go as far as we can. So anything from our fiber to our pelts to the meat to the bone to the lanolin that the fleeces produce. It has been our goal over the years to continually see what more can we get out of our livestock. And we don't just have sheep. We've grown over the last 17 years, since I was 12 years old when my dad got medically separated from the Marine Corps. We kind of went, oh no, what do we do? We had horses, and they bought a little piece of 6 acres in Richlands, and they put the horses out there, and then we got involved in a weird project. We got bunny rabbits at one point, and my mom started learning how to spin. And then from the rabbits, it evolved to, we got these 2 random white sheep. We didn't know what they were, where they came from, anything about sheep. But we took them to the 4-H show at the Onslow County Fair. And we were the goofiest kids. People were laughing at us. Nobody looked at our sheep. He was a little pink thing next to all these black and gray, nice beefy Suffolks and meat sheep. And we had this little teeny tiny runty guy. His name was Elmo. And we didn't know what we were doing. But we loved the fiber. So we learned more about our breed. We got the sheep. And then the next year we went to the state fair. And we spoke to the judges. And as kids, it was such an epiphany to be able to go from nobody noticing you to all of a sudden your business is like, oh, wow, maybe we have something here. So she progressively started this crazy genetics project where all of a sudden we're evolving from 3 sheep to we now have 60 sheep, 3 different breeds. We raise Corriedales, Gotlands, and an East Frisian cross that produces milk for us. And then she's still a riding instructor. She teaches riding lessons to young children. We're very involved in our local community with the 4-H, youth livestock, all kinds of programs, the farmers markets. We're real big at cultivating those relationships within our community. And just trying to bring a good product that farm to table. If you don't want to put it in your body, why would we? So we're trying to give that good, wholesome. We can't necessarily tout organic yet, but we're trying to push for those cleaner, more effective farming.
Great. So next, I'd like for y'all to talk about that spark moment. It could be the moment that inspired you to start your business. It could be the moment once you're in business that inspired you to do something differently. But talk to us, what was that spark for you and how did it happen, and tell us that story. Who wants to go first? We can start at the other end and work our way back.
Okay, so the spark moment for me was when I attended one of the farm conferences at Fayetteville State University, and I was going there from an IT business admin perspective to teach the farmers how to run their business, manage their records, and things like that. But I ended up listening to the stories of the farmers and seeing really the impact that they have on the community and how important it is for farming. So pretty much, I went home after that conference, and 30 days later, I was growing something. And that's really what inspired me.
So for my mother, how many of you have heard about the book Food Incorporated or seen the videos on healthier living and where your food is coming from? On top of that, 6 years ago, I have a special needs child, and with autism, you don't know where it comes from. So it was another drive for my mother as to looking at what you're raising, how you're putting what you're putting into the animals that you're producing, what you're growing, what you're eating, what you're putting on your skin, and just really taking a deep look into those things. And she has continued to strive to keep more natural, more holistic, safer products. And she wanted to be responsible for us knowing as kids, where did it come from? Because so many kids these days grow up and they think there was no harm that came to that chicken that is in the grocery store. No, you know, they don't know what processing goes through. And so we have no respect for the waste that we create when we're cooking. We have no respect for what we're actually eating or the processes and humane processes of animals. So she just wanted to also use that. And then my family is hugely artistic. So what else could we do? And that branched into art, to food, to personal care products.
My story is very similar to that too, because I really believe in natural, organic as much as possible, and just raising kids, just making sure we're healthy. If you're going to eat something, you know, get the best nutrients you can out of it. But really the spark for me was when I found out that there are certain hens that lay blue eggs, and that I was in. I don't know why. I just thought that was so cool, and hence, you know, there was the name.
Those Easter eggers are actually pretty neat. I need to get some. Well, I told you guys about how I started Brass Bell, but the farming actually comes from a deeper root, I guess. As most of us know, the economy crashed in 2008. And my mom worked for General Motors. She was a temp. My parents had just gotten divorced, so she went from being a stay-at-home mom to a working mom. And I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. I have a younger brother and an even younger sister. And I would be at home with them, trying to find them some lunch while she was at work. And often she was getting laid off because the economy was so bad, so we were running really low on money. And can't just live off a cup of soup. So I started working the ground, and I planted a small garden, and I guess things kind of just took off from there, because it's really fulfilling to see you put hard work into something and watch that grow. So that's where I started off.
So I'm an overachiever, and I have 3 spark moments throughout my life. The first one was really simple. I was 9 years old. My mom worked in this little beauty parlor, her little lady shop. She made those. It was wonderful. But she inspired me to start a business. I was making dream catchers and selling handmade cards to her ladies who came into the shop. So that is where it kind of started. She taught me that you could do it. You know, you can have the spending money. You can do whatever you need to. So the second one was when I married my husband, who is currently a warrant officer in the Marine Corps. So I went to college like I was supposed to. I got my degree in environmental science with California Wildlands Management. It's real useful here, by the way. Yeah. So, you know, on the East Coast it was easy. I mean, on the West Coast it was really easy for me to find fulfilling jobs that made me happy. Well then, a year and a half ago, we moved here. It's a little different community than I'm used to, and I decided to kind of go back to my roots. I've always kind of had this little crafting business on the side, but I decided maybe here I could do it. I started I interviewed for an environmental job at the extension office and just saw the amazing people there and kind of got involved in the farmers market that way, and everything about it was just fantastic. And I was like, I think it might work. This is okay. And my husband's like, do whatever you want. I love you. I support you. He actually worked opening day this year. It was amazing. And then the third one is actually this kind of newer one where I've kind of developed some friendships with the local farms. We do some bartering things with, eggs and onions, and I have a very large garden. And so now my next step is to move my business, which right now is handcrafted sewn goods, but I'm a passionate canner and bread maker and things like that. So now that I've developed all these things, I really want to move forward and kind of work with that passion. And so my mom is moving to town, who, again, has been the inspiration for a lot of my life. And so that's our next step, is to hopefully grow more of our own things, can them, and, do it that way. So we're really more involved in the food and farming aspects. So.
Great. So this event and this panel, we're really lucky to have a group of businesses who are all either a part of a military family or have military service themselves. A special moment to thank Tanita for her service. Thank you. And everyone for their service to the community, to your family. And wanted to take a moment to ask you all, how has your connection with the military, whether it be through a military family or your own service, either helped your business or impacted your business, or it could have also created challenges? Talk about your connection with the military and its relationship with your business.
So, as I said, I've had this little weird side business my whole life. Like, it's just, oh, you want a baby blanket? Okay, I'll make you one. Well, then all of a sudden I married this amazing man who has a very stable job. And so now I kind of have the freedom to turn it into something else and maybe make it a little bigger. And so when we were living in San Diego, or Washington actually, I started contacting consignment stores and doing things like that and selling aprons and whatnot there. And then we had to move. And I moved to San Diego, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. This is horrible. Like, what is this world? But then I networked with some amazing people and ended up kind of having it there. No longer consignment shops, more like wholesale. And I was like, what? This is a thing? And then I moved here, and now there's this. Like, this is amazing to me. It's my affiliation with the military. Each place we've moved has only grown my confidence, and it has only grown my inspiration, and it has really made me realize that sitting behind a desk 8 hours a day working for someone else is not my thing. Like, that's what I went to school for. I went to school for tromping around in the mud, so I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. I knew it a long time ago, but so that's what it's done for me. Is my husband in the military has given me the financial position to start this in a way that I was able to overcome fears. And that's your speaker. You're amazing. Thank you. That was amazing. But yeah, and so that's what it's done for me. So.
Well, as I stated earlier, when the economy went south, so did our entire family. Well, by entire family, I mean my mom, her husband, her new husband, and me and my two siblings. So we moved to the Memphis area and ended up living a couple miles below Memphis in Mississippi, the armpit of America. Just kidding, don't tell my husband I said that. He's actually from there. We met in high school, and shortly after graduation, he joined the Marine Corps. And due to packing up and leaving the whole family back in Ohio like that, it has taught me that there is a resiliency that comes with the character of an entrepreneur, and being able to just pick up and move like that and kind of put down new roots wherever you end up has been extremely helpful. And now I know when we get out of the Marine Corps and we go back to Mississippi that I'll be able to hopefully find another, I guess, farm business setting there. So that's helped out a little bit.
Well, my original career path, my husband and I are also high school sweethearts, and I'm 44, so we've been together since we were 17. Wow. So that's been an awesome journey. But the original career path that I had was in clinical psychology. I wanted so desperately to be an FBI profiler. That was my goal. I went to college, I put myself through my bachelor's, and I was going for it. And then all of a sudden, Ron says, hey, honey, we just graduated from college. What do you think about me going back in the Marine Corps? Because we did 4 years enlisted. Somehow, I was born in North Carolina. I end up dating a guy, the only guy in my high school who went into the Marine Corps. Ends up back here dating him through that, and then we end up raising our family here. So I'm just meant to be in North Carolina. There's something about the dirt in this area. So, but I had to completely relearn what my career path was going to be, because at that time there were no online PhD programs. There was no way for me to really, I felt like I had to choose. And I chose wisely in the end, for sure. But what was really fun is about that same time, towards the very end of my college, they give you that career path assessment, and it said you'd be great in business, education, and like science and the farming realm. And I said, absolutely not. There is absolutely no way in my entire life will I ever own a business, teach anyone anything, or, heaven forbid, go back to my family's side of the business, which would be some of the farming. Lo and behold, the Marine Corps and all of this wonderful, the wonderful journey, I have owned businesses. I'm also a teacher and a mentor, and now I'm a farmer. So I have no idea what is next for me. So, but the military has given me a lot of the ability to adapt and to really, and to also work with so many other entrepreneurs, community leaders, and everyone. It makes a huge difference. So it's been an awesome journey. I think it's kind of just starting.
For me, in the Navy, I was an electronic technician, took those skills and started working in corporate after I got out of the military and IT, and did that for about 10 years. And then, I got out, started my own IT business administrative services, and then started Green Panda Farms. From the military, again, is that sense of community that you get. So since that time, I discovered an organization, North Carolina Veteran Business Association, and the community that you get there from networking with other entrepreneurs and being able to partner and work with other veteran businesses to help build your business. I mean, it's hard to get that anywhere else, and everyone, that sense of community, that sense of, camaraderie. It's hard to find that. So, you get veterans and veterans together, it's just like old times when you're in the military. So for me, I would say, the military side, that's probably is the sense of community that you get from that. And, always knowing that that's there, no matter what military person you come across, you kind of always have something in common.
So for us, it's been quite an interesting thing because, like I said, my dad got out of the military. He was involuntarily medically separated. And then I actually married a Marine. And then my grandparents came to live on the farm, and my grandfather was 82nd Airborne. So there are the three of us who've been afforded the opportunity to come back together and be able to help with my mom's entrepreneurial endeavors. But we've been in Jacksonville. I was born and raised here, so 29 years. And one of the things that you see with the military community that you don't always see when you've traveled to other places or smaller stations and things like that, the military really keeps our economy kind of floating here. We see more of a rise when there are times of conflict in people coming into our community. And one of the things that drives our business is that you're constantly meeting people from other parts of the world even, and other communities, and people who have never seen what even small farmers do. And then, of course, being a little bit more weirdly eclectic with the sheep and everything, and the demonstrations with the spinning wheels, and people are constantly in awe of an old art form being available to be seen and taught. And you're making an impact and having an effect on so many different people from so many different walks of life that it's kind of that awesome feeling when with the military community that you're constantly getting these new fresh people to influence and share just a little bit of you that just travels with them for the rest of their lives too.
Wow. Y'all have questions? I've got a lot more questions, but if y'all have questions, let's hear them. There's plenty of time for y'all to jump in. Anyone? Anyone want to jump in? Got one over there. Okay. Let me get the mic.
Yeah, that one's dead. The other one is.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Now we're good.
Thank you. You guys have heard from me already. I wanted to ask a couple of you, I get either have stated or I get the feeling it's kind of still in there in cooking, in the serial entrepreneur space. I don't ever have enough to do, so kind of cooking there myself. Co-authoring a couple books and starting a consulting firm while working the agency and doing some other things. So how have you dealt with transitions between, single endeavors, multiple endeavors? What would you tell someone in my seat who's launching 2 or 3 new things? Watch out for this, don't do that. Any advice?
Well, for me, I am very big about knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. One of my passions is collaboration, so I have spent a lot of time finding the right partners so that I can manage multiple entities at one time. But all of my endeavors are very passion-driven, which goes to a lot of the space that you were talking about earlier today. When you're doing something that you love, it just doesn't feel like work. I probably work on average about 15 hours a day. We're soon to be empty nesters, which is going to be really weird and fun at the same time. But for me, it's really been people, but also the strategy, planning, coming up with the game plan early, really doing risk assessment quickly, as fast as we can. And I'm always learning too. There's a lot of areas of business that I go into that I don't know a whole lot about. Like, for example, Paul Ann has guided me through some really crazy situations that I just was so ignorant to. So instead of trying to, I put my ego aside and say, I know nothing about this. Let me go find out who can help me. Putting the bush hog on my tractor, I was like, this cannot be that difficult. This cannot be that difficult. So instead of trying to figure it out myself and spending 2 weeks trying to figure out how to do it, I just went down to the local feed and seed store, found the nicest looking, most wrinkly farmer, and I said, who was standing in the John Deere part area, I said, by any chance do you have a John Deere? He said, yeah, do you like tractors? I said, I love tractors, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And he happened to not be too far from my farm, and he actually came up to the farm and said, you know what, I don't know a lot of girls who like tractors. This is kind of cool. So he kind of adopted me like his farming granddaughter. So he has saved me so many hours, oh my gosh. But that's how I've managed it for the most part. And I'm realistic too. I am very honest with my partners to say, I have time to handle this project now, or this one project is requiring all of my attention. Go forth, I trust you, here's my expectations, and then entrusting them with that. So mine has always been more about people and never losing curiosity and always being the first one to say, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing here, so let me find out who knows what.
I would like to echo the same thing about finding the expert in whatever you want to do. I think that's a great way to learn about something you don't know about. And also with working with multiple businesses and everything, I mean, it's really getting to know your calendar and scheduling that time, keeping a spreadsheet of your task and what you want to accomplish. And, that way you can stay on track, kind of just manage the project of where you're trying to go. That's probably my biggest recommendation, because like her, I mean, I work a lot of hours as well, but it's probably not enough time in a day to get done everything that you need to do, but just, focus on the goal for that particular project and just chip away at it slowly, and you'll get to where you need to go.
Nice. Tanita, before you pass that mic, do we still have our gift?
Yeah.
Okay. So she and I colluded earlier. We have a special gift as a reward for the first person to ask a question. Tanita, do you want to tell her what the gift is? Because we were thinking about, we want to get folks motivated, and our theme for the day is just go do it. So
So I have a gift card, a $25 gift card to give you from Green Panda Farms, where we'll come out and deliver your salad to you. You can just choose which salad varieties you like. You're welcome.
See, so asking the question does pay off. I like that.
Kind of following up with what these ladies have also said about going through that experience with the business and such. Some of the things I see with my mom as far as being the outsider, because I am not the main person in the ring here, she sometimes has too many irons in the fire because she is constantly doing so much for the business, but she's a crafter, she's a farmer, she's an instructor, she's doing all of these things. And then it's taking that time to admit, where are you weakest? And can you really put the hours into doing that yourself? Which is, part of the reason why you're meeting me today, because she's actually on her way to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. So too many irons in the fire. So having people, having family members, even minions, indentured children, whatever you want to call them, being able to multitask and give those things away and go, okay, I don't have to deal with this, and I can take a deep breath and walk away from this project and know that it's in good hands. So surrounding yourself with people you can trust, even if they're not family, good friends, sometimes not your spouse. Sometimes your spouse is going to look at you and go, why are we doing this? My dad does it all the time. He's like, okay, I'm coming, but I don't know why. So, it's just getting one of those irons handed off to somebody else and just say, hey, you're better at marketing than I am, or you're better at this, do it. And that's the only thing I can recommend just from experience of years and watching her struggle to juggle too many things.
All right.
I can speak loud enough that everyone can hear, particularly in agriculture, because it's
Can y'all hear?
thrown away. A lot of folks that are sitting in this room are not near as old as I am, so they weren't raised on a farm. You weren't taught, so it's not something that is innate. Where are your particular resources to support your business here, particularly in this region and in North Carolina?
So we look to our cooperative extension heavily. One of the people who has just insanely backed the farm and all of our questions, be it seed plots, farming, livestock questions, is Miss Melissa Huffman, and she is the livestock and crop agent. And all of the women there, I'm actually interning with them over there, and it is an amazing experience. You just do not know, for farmers, beginner farmers, incubator farming, all of these things. There are so many things available to you as even just home gardeners that you can get your information. There are classes for master gardeners to teach you more about what kind of plants grow in North Carolina. There are things that teach you about, we have hogs and turkeys in our area. There are water runoff situations where we have water testing that happens. You can take soil samples to them and ask them, what is this composed of? What will grow here? A lot of it's sand, but you're going to get a lot of different feedback. And it's been such an eye-opening last month for me, even just interning with them. But we have used those resources since I was a little girl, and that's where your 4-H and your youth programs and trying to get those agricultural programs coming back into play for people who have never been raised around it. They, again, meat and everything comes from a saran wrap package, not standing out in your pasture. So I encourage you, go down, take classes, ask questions, call them up. There's so many agents with so many different things that can help you. And if they don't have the answer, they're backed by NC State with a lot of their research and information. They're not just sending you like, oh, well, I think. They go off, they give you published articles, and they give you the information that really backs up what you need to know.
Great. Cooperative Extension, great resource. Other resources?
Also, the USDA, their websites and things have a lot of good resources. The FSA, the NRCS, all those organizations. There's actually more organizations out there than you think. There's a lot of information that you could start your research on. the cooperative extension, like she said, is a good place to go if you want to learn how to grow certain things. They can give you information. You know, FSA, it's a good place to start to get your farm ID and things like that that you need to apply to some of these USDA programs. Yeah. Anyone I
Yeah,
missed?
the FSA, that was a really big one for me. The other one, too, is the SBC and the SBTDC. There are some farming specialists within those community networks, and they a lot of times are teaching the classes, but they also know the local community, so a lot of the farmers that have helped mentor me came from some of those networks, too.
Good point.
And as she was saying about the incubator farm, my husband and I take that class every Wednesday. I believe it's from 6 to 9, but it can vary on how much work has to be done that day. You basically, it's a program you sign up for, you pay a small fee, and I do believe it's a 2-year program, but my husband's taking care of that, and I'm taking care of everything else, so I don't know how long it is. I just show up. But you learn how to do soil samples and work with fertilizer and how to figure out how much fertilizer and what type you need for a certain plot, because plots can be different, need different nutritional values for the soil for certain things to grow. And you learn irrigation, pest management, pollinator, all that fun stuff. But it's actually very helpful, and I believe next January is probably when they might be starting the next go-round. You can stop by the Onslow County Extension Office and get some more information on that.
I'm not a farmer, okay. But I'm gonna do one more thing on this Onslow County Extension. For all you people who live on base or just want a small vegetable garden or something, that is how I met the Onslow County Extension, was they have an amazing personal gardening class as well. I went to their fall gardening series, they have a spring gardening series. If you just wanna get your feet wet, there you go.
Other questions from the audience, or else I've got one that I'd like to ask the group. So we heard a lot about collaboration in our keynote speech and how we as business owners can work together. And so I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about the community in which you operate your business, both in terms of the community you're serving, but also the community of other businesses around you. Because to me, food is one of those opportunities where I learned this term a while back called co-opetition. And your competition are also your best friends, because if you're on a small main street, if it's a vibrant main street and there's other restaurants and there's other food businesses, more people are going to come and more people are going to be customers. If the local foods movement grows, more people are going to want to shop local, more people are going to buy local. So tell us about the community you're serving, but also tell us about the community in which you operate of other businesses and other like-minded entrepreneurs.
Let me tell you, my friends at the farmer's market are some of my best customers. Like, friends, it's a community. Like, I have met, as a military spouse, it's pretty easy to make friends with military spouses. And those are going to be your friends for 3 years, and then you're going to move, you're going to make more military spouses. Well, being part of the Onslow County Farmers Market I now have so many community member friends that I wouldn't have met if it weren't for that. Just people coming up to my booth talking. I mean, I probably would have never met Jordan because we both live out in town, a million miles away from each other. And now, I mean, we swap every time if I have extra seedlings or whatever. She has extra eggs, we'll trade them out. And it's like you said, like it's not a competition. It's a community. Like, there might be 4 soap vendors, there might be 5 farmers, but everyone has a different take on everything. Everyone has their own spin. Everyone has their own personality and their own skill. And if we were all the exact same, it wouldn't be a community. It would be a bunch of drones. So, this community is fantastic. I mean, that's how I'm here, because of, somebody in the community knowing me, talking to another person in the community, and it's an amazing network. And I recommend you jump in with both feet forward if you can.
Yeah, playing off of what Tara just said, and also what was said about networking in one of the previous panels. Working with so many different groups of people, you get to meet more people, and so will tell so-and-so, and so-and-so will tell somebody else, and then before you know it, the newspaper shows up at your booth and wants to run an article on you. And Tara has been able to feed me sometimes, and I forget to bring my lunch to the markets, and she's helped me walk through my taxes and stuff. And I've got other vendors who are at the market as well who help me with countless other things, and will basically just give me any kind of advice when we're not sure of something, when we are planting or whatnot. And it really has been extremely helpful, especially being a military spouse, because every time you move, you have to pack up, and you're kind of just placed somewhere where you don't know a soul. So when you already have an established community of happy people who like to make people happy, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think going to the networking, I think that's obviously where a lot of entrepreneurial success really comes from. And through our military family career and my business opportunities, I think the biggest thing is to just make sure you're confident enough and don't ever be scared to ask a question. Make a new friend, ask somebody, what their interests are, really listening to customers, hearing what they're looking for. You could put 5 different farmers' tomatoes in front of me, and each one tastes different. Each one feels different. Each one has a different presence, because every farm product is unique. So we could all be selling tomatoes, but they're all special. So farmers, we know what it takes to go and grow these things, to raise the animals, and it's the network, I think, is probably the biggest part of the community side too.
Okay, so talking about the community that my business is in, so Green Panda Farms started more in Raleigh, North Carolina, which you guys know is the capital of North Carolina. It's a pretty big city, so our market there, looking more to the consumer looking for a healthy food, because our food is very healthy, more like a superfood type thing. So we're expanding our business, though, to the Siler City area, which is a more rural area, smaller town, not really, what I sell is kind of new there. They don't have microgreens there that's being sold within the community. So, we're working hard on with the farmers in the area and getting to know who our community is, who's there, who is in the agriculture space, because that's going to be a great way on how we're going to be able to build our business, learning where these folks sell their products and things like that. But even though you're in a rural community, that's still not a limitation, because you can look at your surrounding cities and things around you as your markets as well. So don't let the area where you are be a limitation to the business that you want to do.
So having been born and raised in this community, and my family is a huge proponent for community service and community-based interactions, because without, like Ms. Roxanne said, that without being able to stop that farmer and ask a question about your bush hog, or having, as a girl, I used to go bale hay for a gentleman up the street, and we would trade. I would get hay for my horse, and he would get free labor. But then when we wanted to put out hay, or when we wanted to do something, he always had a tractor available for my dad to borrow until we got a tractor, and then he knew who to hook us up with to buy a tractor. And then you have so many curious minds coming through this community that no question is a dumb question. We may be like, okay, at first, but when we were looking at that same thing, we asked that question too. And there are so many people coming into sheep now that call my mother on a daily basis. Lambs are being born. This is happening. What do I do? She's like, I'm not the vet, but this is what I see. Or I can come out and help you with a lambing difficulty. And yeah, it could be considered threatening as far as having more people raising sheep, but at the same time, our business, we have changed from East Carolina Corriedales to Southern Sheep Company, because we now help market for those farmers. We have another farmer who, after the passing of his wife, he was selling meat sheep, but could no longer do it without assistance. So my mother helps when she has hers to be sold. She'll even haul them to market for him. And those friendships and that community that you're getting, yes, he's selling a sheep over us. But at the end of the day, when he's out of lambs, do you know who he's calling and saying, hey, do you have any lambs? He's calling us. And sometimes friendships and in those investments and taking that hit on the loss of maybe a few dollars here or there, in the long term fosters such a great relationship that there's a community loyalty and people are going to love your farm and love your product and want to come back to you just to know you.
Wow. So we've got a lot of resources around the outside of this room, but I think we're also hearing that there are plenty of resources within these tables and sitting around these tables as well. As y'all have got a network right here. Get to know the folks in this room because it sounds like there's been some powerful connections. That's really awesome. Other questions from the audience? Got one back here. Can you shout or should we bring back the mic? I'll bring them.
If you'll take the mic, because they really won't be able to hear it over the recording.
Here I come.
Hello. Oh, wow. Okay, so this question is for the sheep farm. Okay, so I am really big with collaborating with businesses that would not normally collaborate with each other, because I've been doing that since I've gotten here, and I get the, whoa, you guys are working? I didn't even know you guys can work with each other. That's cool. So my question to you is, do you guys make clothing out of the sheep wool, correct?
Yes, my mom needle felts and creates felted silk scarves. I crochet and knit. There's all kinds of different wearables that you can do with it. We've used them for photography purposes. We've used animals for photography purposes.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of
Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
where kids bring Easter pictures. We have baby lambs.
Awesome.
Put ribbons on. And
Yeah.
you set it up. We bring you the sheep.
Got you. So have you guys ever completed like a full line? Like for instance, I know a designer in New York who actually did like a swimwear out of wool. Like she had a few. So have you guys? Yeah, so can we talk after this, just yeah, I would love to collaborate with you guys on something, because I do Fashion Week in Jacksonville, and I would love to, showcase you guys. Oh yeah, definitely, always. Oh yeah, definitely, plenty notice.
Right, that's a great connection. Other questions? All right, over here. I'm coming.
How do you deal? Right now, we are in a time where you have a lot of different, especially within the military, a lot of people are moving in and out. PCS season is coming up, and with you having your local business, do you see an impact with the military moving so much, like often? And my other question is, I've noticed here in Jacksonville, there is a lot of different, grocery stores popping up. Is that hurting your business? Because that's something, I know nowadays we're going for the local food and everything, and we're in the generation of millennials that we love the organic, healthy, and everything. All these businesses that are coming to Jacksonville, is that hurting your local business?
You want to get that? Oh, we've got one too. Good.
Is it working? No.
Okay, this one works.
Thank you. What you mentioned about the military turnaround, it is excellent because you always have a fresh face buying your products. Because someone can only buy so many pairs of bullet earrings before they're like, I think I have enough. So with new people coming in, they're like, wow, I haven't seen this before. So that's pretty nice. However, it is really sad when you have a customer that comes in frequently and then they're like, oh yeah, this is my last time coming. Have a good life. And what you mentioned about the grocery stores and whatnot. Grocery stores will never, ever be comparable to a farmer's market because one, you are not talking to the person at the grocery store that grew that tomato or bit of corn. Two, you're actually building a sense of community because you're buying straight from that store and you are engaging in conversation with that farmer, and like you can learn about like what they did that week with their vegetable crop, or like how they chased their chickens around because so and so needed vaccinations, and how a fox got the chickens, which has been my problem lately. But grocery stores will never equate to the sense of community based around a farmer's market.
With all these businesses coming, I guess I should have emphasized my question a little bit more. Has that hurt you economically? Have you seen a decrease with on clients?
The only thing that is hurting us right now is people saying, there's a farmer's market here? Because there's so many people, even at school. I'll talk to someone in my class and they're like, I didn't know there's a farmer's market. I'm like, yeah, where do you think I'm at every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday?
So another big thing with the supermarket thing is awareness is key. Like the more of these supermarkets, the more people hear the benefits of local, the more people hear the benefits of organic or any of that stuff, the more people will look for that. And so if it's now on your radar, you might look at a farmer's market, you might look at a local farm, you might look at, oh, wool? Huh. Like all of a sudden people are aware and it's now on the forefront of your mind versus I'm going to go to the supermarket and pick up food because you're not aware. And as far as PCS season goes, I totally agree with Jordan. I do baby quilts. There's a lot of babies in the military. It's pretty nice, but each individual maybe only has one or two or three. But on the other side of that, technology has been huge. Like now, even if a customer moves across the country, I'd be like, well, here's my Etsy site. It's basically free for me to have an Etsy site. And now we can still connect, and same with Facebook and Instagram. I'm still connected to my customers who've been my customers now for 1.5 years, and they can still see what I'm bringing out, and I get emails and all these things, and it's really fabulous that our community can now be an entire country big, but still be local. You're still supporting local crafted or grown things.
And utilize Facebook Live. We're about to do that with our farm, and it brings them into your farm, which is pretty cool too.
And just real quick about the supermarket, I think also too, you don't have to look at the supermarket as something that's taking away business either. Depending on where you want to go with your business, you can get your product in the supermarket. The more demand that the customers have for local foods, the more that they're going to bring into the grocery store. So that the customers in the store can also impact what the store is selling. So don't look at it as a limitation, but maybe look at it and say, well, maybe that's the next step for our business. If we're losing that market to there, perhaps we should go ahead and get our product in the grocery store and start doing the steps to do that.
Yeah, I'm just seconding. Social media is the biggest proponent for our small businesses to actually get out there and be seen by other people. Because yes, there are a lot of customer turnaround. There is so many different people, and it's sometimes hard to establish that long-lasting relationship. So you have to put the extra effort into making yourself heard, getting yourself seen. If the farmer's market's not getting seen enough, are you getting seen enough? Are you volunteering? That investment of your time, though maybe, your time is money, but even if it's for nothing but a few hours, I've seen more businesses in the farmers market community successful because they volunteer, they do a kids craft, they do something else, and we don't compete with the supermarkets because you want something so niche that you can't get it there. You're not gonna just be able to go, like she said, walk to the farm or talk to the farmer and know. Some of us allow you to come to our farms and actually see and make a connection and We sell live lamb, so you actually have to come get your lamb.
Oh,
Things
yeah.
like that. You don't get that choice.
All right, last question here.
Okay. So I am just at the very start of beginning my business. I just formed my LLC about a month ago. So I'm still trying to figure everything out. But part of my business model does involve taking handcrafted goods and selling them predominantly online, because I consider that to be something that could move with me. So you touched on this a bit, but I wanted to know if you, one, use any other, besides like Etsy, do you use any other internet-based sales models, and how successful are they? And if they are successful, what percentage of your business, what kind of revenue do you expect to get from those?
So I think we've got time for one person to answer this question.
Okay, so I'm on Etsy, and I've been on Etsy actually for 7 years, and quite frankly, I have like 20 sales in 7 years. 90% of my business, 100% of my business, or I'd say 90% of my business is face-to-face. Here is my item. Because there are not 237,000 other quilt makers in my booth. Unlike there is when you type in little kid quilt, 223,000 hits come up. I don't use Facebook Live yet. I have done Instagram auction thing, mixed success. So the other, 8% is I get orders through wholesale. I have a few customers actually around the country who buy items in bulk, and they will buy through Etsy now instead of that. But so that's my lack of success story with internet sales versus face-to-face. So that's my.
All right. All right, I think we're out of time here, so
The market is literally go through this light and take the first right that's possible. We have a tiny little sign out there. Yeah, but we're there Saturday 8:30 to 1:30. Tuesdays we're on Camp Lejeune from 10 to 2, and Thursdays we are in the front of Big Lots in their parking lot from 10 to 2 as well. And I can see you afterwards, and I can give you a business card with all the times on it, and that goes for everyone else as well.
All right, please join me in thanking this panel. They did an excellent job. And I think also one of the best ways you can thank this panel is go to the farmer's market, right? So.
Okay, so this is pretty fascinating, right? Right? So I literally had to hold Kathalina back from bringing a lamb today. And I know you're hating me for that now, right? So, but I do want to point out just a couple of things. Tim McCurry is in the back of the room. And Tim, I want to thank you. Stand up, Tim. Tim, I want to thank you for connecting me to Tara and Jordan and Kathleen, wait a minute, I can never get, Kathalina, yes. I knew Roxanne already, and I have had the delightful pleasure of meeting Tanita today and hearing about her microgreens. This is so completely fascinating to me, what's going on in this trend, and I'm going to quit talking now and let Browse talk just a little bit, but thank you so much for what you've done today, ladies.
While they're exiting the stage, just to note, Anna and I were talking about this, and we were thinking about putting this on. There's a ton of movement going on, not just locally, but nationally, with farming and veterans, connecting veterans into farming as it's being seen that that there's a lot of peace and purpose for farmers. It's very helpful for PTSD or traumatic brain injuries. So we're seeing this trend. I can give you a quick example. Just outside of our area in Raleigh, we have a veteran farmer, came back to his home after he transitioned out of service, and so he started, farming locally, and he had other veterans come in and volunteer, and he can see just how completely at peace and how much better these veterans were feeling. So at that point, he actually has built a facility for these farmers to live on his farm and learn to farm so they can go out and create their own businesses as well. So this is a trend. Farming is very important, and it's also very important to connect the rural communities and to make sure that people are coming back to their communities and have opportunities to give back and for economic development. So we're really excited about this panel. Thank you to the Rural Center. Thank you, everybody. Y'all are amazing, and just I love hearing your stories, and I promise you, we're coming to see you. We're making a special trip to come see you guys. So that was wonderful. So we're about to wrap this up. This is the conclusion of our program. We have a resource and networking fair for you all to enjoy. We have our farmers and our entrepreneurs from our panel today who are here over here, and we have our resource partners. I know several times you heard us mention about the resources in the area to help you start and grow your business. We're all here. We're passionate too about giving back to you all and making sure that you have what you need to get started. Let's clap for all of our panelists, both panels. I want to thank our sponsors, because if we didn't have our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to, well, we could hold it, but it would be a little different model. And so thank you to our sponsors as well. I want to thank Miss Becky Sheets. She was amazing, coming all the way in and talking about Sun Tzu. How cool. So she's a bad person in a good way. So thank you all. And of course, Ann, you want to finish up?
I'm not sure I can really finish. I just want to say thank you, Lisa Mirabito and Caitlin from the Chamber. Raven, Raven's still over there. Thank you for coming in to help this morning. Carla and Alex, we really appreciate you keeping us organized this morning. So many people do that behind the scenes work that we so appreciate. April Priester, I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't had some extra support from all the creativity that you brought to this event today. And we do want you to take the opportunity before you leave here today to complete the evaluation form that's at your place. Thank you, Carla, for reminding me. We want your feedback about today's program. We want to know what you liked and how we can make it better. What you think of the venue, anything that is good for feedback to help us make this better. We want to hear about it. Thank you so much. One more item from Bryles.
Yep. And just so you know, the calendars on your tables, they are free. They're for you. They are a gift from the Women's Business Center and one of our clients, Mary Contando, out of our area with the Women's Advantage. So I hope y'all enjoyed those calendars. They're words of wisdom from women from all over the world. So you just peel it off. It's one of those old time where you peel it off. And so we hope you enjoy it. Thank you all so much. Thank you. I wanted special thank you to Melissa and our Women's Business Center for all of her efforts too. There she is back there. Go say hey to Melissa, and to the Rural Center for all you did to put this together and support us, to all of our partners. Thank you all so much. It's an honor to have y'all here today. Thank you.